Hello everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Got an interesting one today. We're going to be talking to Darren from PWS today. Very excited to talk to him, very honoured to have him on the stream. I'm a podcaster now. It's getting crazy. Hello everyone. Jordan, welcome. Under Pressure, welcome. Gary, welcome. Shane. Things are going well, thanks. It's been it started out a bit rough today, to be honest. I went out to the van. I've been working this morning. And I had a job on at 9 o'clock this morning, and it's in my town, just up the road. And I went outside to the van like 15 minutes before I had to arrive at the job. Turn the key, nothing. The battery's flat. Terrible start to the day. Literally, if I leave that van for like a day without driving it, because I didn't drive it on. Actually, I drove it yesterday morning. I had a gutter job yesterday morning. But I feel generally, if I leave it for like 24 hours and then try and start the engine, the battery's flat. There's some sort of drain on the battery, and I think the auto electric shop said it was a problem with the cheap Chinese alternator that I've got on there. So the alternator's working, it's recharging the battery, but it's also drawing power when I turn the van off. So I had to jump it from Sophie's car. But then I realised I've got that van battery in the back from my new machine that I could have jumped it from. I should have done that really, just to see if it worked. Hello Shane. Hello Will. You okay? ELA pressure washing. Let's get chatting. We'll see if Darren's about in a bit. Holmes. Graham, how's the trigger on your new Lance? Is it easier to pull? Yeah, it's got some sort of like cog. Is it a cog? How would you explain it? You get to a certain point and then like a cog engages and it kind of clicks it into place. So all the strain on your fingers is sort of bypassed by the little cog. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure that's probably what it's doing inside, but I'm not really sure. Cam, that's the word I was looking for. It's a cam. I'm still a bit sort of uncomfortable with it because it's a little bit longer than my old one. And my shoulder and my elbow sort of up here. Because I want to be sort of over the cleaning area rather than having the Lance in front of me. So my arm's sort of like this, and I was even using my thumb. I was grabbing the trigger like this and holding it upside down and using my thumb. I'm still not comfortable with it. I'm wondering whether a bent Lance might be better, but with like a subtle bend, not like a harsh bend. I don't know. Bonjour, Shagger. Luke, you're right, mate. Hope you and your family's well and work's going well. McFlurry Mondays. Do you know what? I was about to get a McFlurry on my way home, and Soph said no. Wait until I come back. She's gone to get her nails done. Got a wedding coming up in the next few days. One of our friends' weddings, and so this is like my last working day for like 3 days. She's gone to get her nails done, and she said, I'll get the McFlurries on the way home. So I'll probably be eating a McFlurry on stream but in a couple of hours. How's everyone doing? Has anyone else been working today? Bank holiday Monday. Pretty sure it's called a cam. As soon as you press the trigger, it gives you all the power, so to speak. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. It feels like it's on a cam. Yeah. And my shoulders feel tense, like I feel like my shoulders have been like this all morning. I'll show you the job I've been doing today. This is what I've been on today. It's a new driveway really. I think it's only about 2 years old. So it came up literally brand new. It was really nice. Gary, I'm not sure about jetting equipment. I think I could hook up like a pump, like a pond pump or something, but doesn't that mean I need like a power supply on site? I've got a generator that I could bring out with me and stuff, but I don't know. You'll see in a bit, I've done a video of my van, just like a walk around of my van, and you'll see how little space I've got to work with, and so any more equipment in that van, and it's just going to be a nightmare. I'm going to have, like, I tried to get to my hypo earlier today, doing this drive, and the hypo was right in the corner of the van, behind my gutter vacuum, behind my hose reel. I had to whip all my stuff out of the van just to get to my hypo. A big heavy barrel at the back, and it's just like, it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff in that tiny little van, and it's either I get a bigger van and then I can start getting some more equipment, or keep things simple. I don't know. Hello Charlie, you right mate? You right Dave? Carry on cleaning, welcome. Carry on cleaning. I'm thinking about doing a giveaway. You know your before and after pictures that you put on Instagram the other day. I was thinking I should do like a competition, like a giveaway, for you guys to send me your best before and after pictures, your best transformations, and then we'll pick the best one via a poll on stream, and then I'll give away like a £50 or £100 voucher for one of the suppliers or something. I'm not sure. I think there's a bit of setup involved with giveaways. They've got to be legal. They've got to be legit, and you've got to specify that it's only valid for this country and stuff. Because I've got viewers from, I've got quite a few US viewers, people from like Sweden and stuff, watching the videos, and so I've got to figure out how to set that up. But if anyone's interested in that, I think that'd be a cool idea. Wish it was my last working day. I've got 2 schools to clean. No way. The quiet patch has it left. How's everyone else's work going? To be fair, in the last like 2 or 3 days, since last week, since the stream last week, the quotes have really picked up. It's crazy. I had 3 today. I had 1 yesterday. I think I had 2 on Friday, so it's like, yeah, it's definitely picking up again. I had a landscaper that told me the other day, like August and January are always super quiet, and he sort of got into why he thinks that is and stuff, but I think Darren will probably tell you the same thing when he comes on in a bit. Oh, you've been working this morning, ELA. Nice. Evening, Charlie. You right, mate? Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? It's this one came up really well. It's a new driveway, basically. You can already see. You probably can't see from the pictures, but we could see when it was dry. Already, it's only been down like 2 years, and already you can see the smooth areas where the cars have been parked, and then around the cars and everywhere else, you can see where the aggregate's starting to show, because they're a lot more weathered than all the others are. So I think these are clay blocks. I think these are clay block pavers. No, they're not. They're these are concrete ones, aren't they? But you can see the stones starting to come through already. Rutland pumps, welcome. Mudsucker, Venture extractor, transfer pulled water away to a drain. What's the hose length on those suckers, those mud suckers? I saw someone did a video on the mud sucker recently on Facebook. It might have been you guys, Rutland Pumps. Was it on like a farmyard? Also, Squeaky Clean Dave's done a couple of videos on the mud sucker as well. Looks good. I could get a bigger van. You need an ambulance. Has anyone else seen Squeaky Clean Dave's ambulance yet? Yeah, they are concrete, yeah. I get confused when they're new because it's hard to see, but With clay, you can sort of see the ribbons in the clay. Right, should we get into it? Should we see if Darren's about? I think he's just messaged. Let's turn the music off. We don't need that anymore. Right. Here he is. Here he is. Hello, mate. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey. How's it going?
Good.
Welcome.
I need to pause the YouTube.
It's an honour. Welcome to my YouTube. I think you brought quite a few people with you. We don't normally have these kind of numbers first thing.
It's a busy night, isn't it?
Yeah.
You must have lots of questions.
You've already had a sneak peek of the questions, haven't you? You tried. We had a just a little call last night just to check that everything was working, and I sent over a couple of questions, and you couldn't help yourself, could you? You just started trying to tell me the answers to all these questions. I was like, save it for the stream. Just save it.
I don't get to see a lot of people do it during the day. I work a lot.
What is that mug? That's nice. Have you ever seen Gogglebox when they've always got different mugs?
No, my missus watches Gogglebox. I'm too busy working. I don't get a chance.
Right, welcome to the stream. It's an absolute honour to have you here. As before, guys, if any of you have got questions for Darren, feel free to post them in the YouTube chat. I'm sure you can see it on your end as well, can't you?
Yeah, I've popped the chat out so I can see it.
Good.
And I'm going to get rid of the video because it's really off-putting watching myself for about 30 seconds ago, trying to work out what my lips are saying.
It's not super low latency tonight, so there's a few different settings I can put on the stream, and I think it does take probably about 30 seconds for people's messages to come through, and so we might.
It's probably best you don't have me in HD.
We might see your guys' questions slightly late, but we'll try and get to as many as we can. Although it is a little bit distracting while I'm trying to talk to you and then trying to read the questions at the same time. I'm new to all this. I don't do it very often, so you'll have to bear with me.
Sure, to be great. So what questions have we got in? Where should we start? Where do you want to start?
Should we start by introducing you? And do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
So I'm Darren from PWS. For the last, since the 90s, I've been fixing industrial cleaning equipment, predominantly pressure washers, but I also do industrial floor care and vacuum cleaners and stuff like that. Occasionally the larger car washes, with the big brushes and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about it. That's me, and that's what I do.
How long ago did you start the business?
So, I started in 90. I worked for a company doing this back in the late 90s. I think it was 97. I started working for them, 97, late 97, early 98. And I started PWS in 2005.
So your experience with like pressure washers and stuff is almost the amount of experience I've got in life. I was born in 92 and then you got into it shortly after I was born.
Yeah, I got, I got into it totally by accident. Okay. So I didn't wake up and go, school, you know what I want to do? I want to fix jet washers when I'm older. It was nothing at all like that. I was between jobs at the time, and my car snapped its cam belt. And the cam belt, I had the car took to a unit that my dad had got, and next door to the unit was a place that did jet washers and cleaning equipment. And it was snowing, and this guy watched me fix my cam belt on my back in the snow on my own. And he came out and he was like, and what do you do for a job? And I was quite an arrogant, a little snotty-nosed kid back then. I was like, I'll do a bit of this, bit of that. And he's like, are you interested in a job? And I'm like, depends on the money. And he took me in and showed me some jet washers, and he was like, see, you could fix these. I was like, look, mate, I could fix anything.
It's like that advert, isn't it? If you can fix a bike, You can fix a car. If you can fix a car, you can fix a jumbo jet or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly that. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can do it. And he offered me, I'll never forget it, back then, really, really, really strong money. So in the 90s, he offered me a job which was 22 grand a year with a van, with a phone, with a fuel card, with good holidays,
Wow.
paid sick. It was a dream job.
Just from like a 5 minute meeting outside in the snow.
5 minute meeting outside in the snow. And I stuck it with him until I had to have an emergency operation, and they tried to change my work contract and just not behave very well after I'd been working for them for like 8 years. And I was a good employee. I was their top earning van. I was their busiest service van. And they just didn't treat me right. So I left. I definitely wasn't going to do cleaning equipment anymore. I'd had enough. I was going to do something different. And my customers just started contacting me like, oh, buy a van, come and look after us, buy a van. And I didn't really want a van. I wasn't really interested in doing it. And sure enough, after a chat with a good friend of mine, who incidentally was my bank manager at the time, another Darren, we sat down and had a talk about life and what I should do that's sensible. And he was like, look, you should buy a van, and you should do this. You can do it. You're good at it.
Had you ever been self-employed before, or is this the first time running your own business?
First proper go at it. I had a brief period in between jobs where I did a little bit, but nothing really worth talking about. You know what I mean? Nothing interesting.
Yeah.
And basically, I thought, you know what? I'll give it a go. I'm just looking backwards now to see if I can find a picture of my first ever van. Here we go. I will send you.
Did you figure out if you can show me pictures from your end, or do you want me to pull them up on my end?
I'll tell you what, right? As long as anybody that knows me doesn't start messaging me filth on Facebook, because it'll pop up on the screen while I'm.
You've given them ideas now, mate.
I should be able to screen share this picture. So I should be able to show you that picture. Does that work?
Watch stream. Hey, there we go. Yeah, I can see it.
Does that work?
Is that your little van?
That was my first ever work van. We called it the Mule. I had to. I borrowed 500 quid off my dad to buy it, because I'd had a period where I didn't work for a few months, and I'd been on the sick or whatever, and I was pretty skint around this point. I borrowed 500 quid to buy the van. All the money I had in the world, had none. I put on a credit card, so I'd got £1,000 limit on and we've all had one of these cards when we're younger, Capital One credit card. And I brought 1,000 quid's worth of spares for my van, and that's how I started. 500 quid's worth of van, 1,000 quid's worth of spares, and a tank full of diesel. And
you were heading out to your previous customers' properties.
There were people that called me. I never once canvassing these people. I don't believe in that. There's enough work out there. Do you know what I mean? I beat them at the time. I had probably the best website at the time, because we were going back nearly 20 years now. Websites were unheard of in this industry, and we had a really good one back then. And we got all of our work from being really technically advanced.
When you say we, do you mean, was it just you at the time, or did you have someone else with you?
No, just me. But I mean, we as a company.
Yeah. Who did your website for you? Was it yourself, or did you get someone else to build it for you?
No. I did it myself. Even really? The current one. Even the current one's mine.
No way.
So I do everything. I did the logo design. I do the back end. I do the front end.
You know what? You surprise me. We spoke last night, and you brought up like 4 different things that I just wouldn't have expected from you. You're full of surprises, you are, honestly. You've got your finger in all sorts of different pies, haven't you?
You know what? I've learned a lot of stuff by being involved in lots of different hobbies. And I sent you my mantra last night. You know, if you're gonna do something, make sure you do it right.
I was
And if you're gonna put
thinking
a lot
about
of
that
time
earlier
in,
today.
yeah, if you're gonna put your time and effort into something, make sure you do it properly.
Yeah.
And so I've been in a few clubs, and I perhaps not like the way the club's been run. So I've gone, I can do that better. And when you're in a club environment, they go, well, you come and do it then. It's as simple as that. So I've ended up running a few clubs and doing a few things, and they'd need something doing it, and there'd be no budget to do it. So I'd sit and learn how to do it. And yeah, that's how I learned how to do web design. I needed to build one for my local mini club, Classic Minis, back in 2004, 2003. I needed to build one for them. So I did, and that's a skill that stuck with me.
I've probably got a couple of questions for you in that case then, because I'm in the middle of putting one together for myself. So I've got almost 2 years in now, and I've not had a website for my customers to look at. I've got a website for just a few bits that I'm doing for my viewers, but nothing for like customer facing. Do you think that was attractive to a lot of new customers for you? Do you think that was really important at the start?
100%. Two things I had to do when I was setting up. So it's a little bit different for me because my market isn't business to end user. My market's business to business. And outside of this world, so the world that we're in now with driving roof cleaning, I'm working with sort of abattoirs, hauliers, food factories, local councils, the military, blue chip companies like Airbus, that type of thing. And they're not interested in dealing with a sole trader who isn't VAT registered, who hasn't got a website, who hasn't got a presence.
Yeah.
They didn't know. So I picked up what was it? Serco Rail. So rail company. So I picked up Serco Rail, national company, and I was working out of that van that you can see at a summer house at my mum and dad's house. Right? And they didn't know that because the presence that we give, the online persona, if you will, or the website, the view that they'd got from their computer was this is a nationwide company.
Yeah. So I've got a theory on that, and I want to get your opinion. My theory is that for someone like myself starting out in the pressure washing industry, I feel like a website would, depending on how good it looks and stuff, is going to bring in more commercial clients, whereas social media pages are going to bring in more residential. Do you think I'm right with that? What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, definitely, because with commercial customers, there's two ways you win commercial customers. One of those is they're in an office together, and somebody decides that they need something cleaning, and Dave will go to John. Oh, such and such had such and such around at the weekend. You should use them or find them. And the other is they just use a Google search engine. So these purchase managers are literally just sat there searching for local whatever they're looking for, sat at a desk making phone calls based upon what they can see. So you're right. You know, Facebook will drive all of your domestic and all of your like your house projects, and it isn't really going to. You're not going to reach purchase managers and decision makers in large companies through Facebook unless they find you while they're personally looking.
So do you think for me, or for someone starting out like I am, do you think it's worth investing time and money into an attractive website if you're not necessarily equipped to deal with big commercial cleans? Do you think it's worth it for me at the moment?
You can always scale up.
Quickly though.
So we've had to.
Well, say for example, I got 3,000 square feet to clean from a quote that's come in, and I've gone out, I've quoted it, I've won, but I'm not necessarily equipped to clean that sort of area myself. It's just me on my own.
Yeah, but you can always you've got to think outside the box. You can collab with somebody else with bigger kit.
Yeah.
You could subcontract the work out, and you could just be there as project manager. with your van. There's loads of different ways of doing it. You just sometimes have to think outside the box. I mean, does it cost a lot of money to have a website? Do one yourself. It'll cost you the hosting and some evenings of your time. So after we finish this tonight, I've got a couple of little knickknacks on mine that isn't working. I'm going to sit and work on them while I'm drinking tea instead of watching telly. So yes, it's going to cost you time. No, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. Should you do it? Definitely yes. I mean, if I was picking a company to come and do any work at my house, I wouldn't pick a company that I couldn't research for any work. So if I, for example, I've just recently had solar panels fitted. The guy canvassed me through Facebook. So I knew what I wanted. I've been looking at a local company's quote me. This guy canvassed me through Facebook. Can I come and see you and give you a quote? He came and saw me and gave me a quote. I then spent the next 2 nights researching his company to check he could do what he needed to do.
And if he didn't have a website, if it was just social media, do you think you'd have gone for him?
I wouldn't have touched him. There's no way I would have spent the money with him. So, and that's because I just no idea who he is. He's just a guy that's turned up.
Yeah.
You're currently in a little bit of a revolution in this driveway, well, not even driveway, let's say exterior cleaning or valeting. This exterior cleaning is currently going through a bit of a revolution where the bigger players are getting a more commanding amount of work, so they're earning more money, and what they're able to do is make it loads more professional than it used to be. So whereas 10 years ago this type of work was probably 75% traveller community, 25% legitimate companies, I would now say it's the other way around. I would say that this is 75% legitimate companies, 25% your 20 quid driveway cleaners and your your traveller type community.
Yeah.
And you're caught, so you guys are caught in that, I'm not going to say trap, but you're caught in that momentum now, where if you want to continue to operate doing this, you're having to move to a nicer website or better equipment or the next stage up. Up until this recent movement, the most popular petrol machine we ever sold for cleaning driveways and whatever was a 15150. So 15 litres a minute at 150 bar.
150 bar sounds low.
That's what people were using. So they were using a 15 litre machine, 150 bar, maybe the occasional 15200, but it's a 15150, and that was because the average tap at the average customer's house would deliver 12 to 15 litres a minute, 12 to 18 litres a minute. So they could run a small buffer tank, not run out of water, get the job done. The machines were relatively cost effective or relatively cheap, and that's what they used to use. Sort of COVID came along, or just before COVID came along, this huge push came where if you didn't have a 21200, you were basically not playing the game. You were a little bit, I don't want to say tin pot, I don't want to offend anybody on the channel, but you get what I'm going at. There was this movement where there was this assumption that you was not a proper cleaner if you didn't have this level of kit or bigger.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone starts somewhere, and I think it's natural. There's a natural progression to start off with a smaller machine. Not everyone's got the budget to go straight in for a 21 litre per minute machine. Myself, I think I went from 11 litres per minute to 15 litres per minute, and now I've got like a 30 litre per minute machine, which is totally unnecessary for what I'm doing. Absolutely bonkers. It's stupid. I was using it today. It's silly.
Yeah, I at the moment cannot understand the push, but we should get to that in a bit because that's a different chat.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at some questions, shall we?
Yeah, crack on.
So somebody, does this mean viewers get on stream special offers for PWS?
Tell them what you told me last night about.
We don't do discounts. What we try and do, in all honesty, is we do try and just give value all year round, and we try and operate at a price which is consistent throughout the year. So we don't do like a massive sale, or we don't get caught up in flavour of the month. Buy loads of these, get this, get that. We just try and sort of stay in the middle.
Do you do Black Friday sales?
No.
Christmas sales? Nothing at all. I suppose if you're keeping prices low all year round, there's no reason to do a sale, because
we just stay the same all the way through. We don't raise them, we don't lower them. We just at a place that we can operate at.
I think the one time I have seen you do a sale was at the cleaning expo. You had a couple of leftover surface cleaners that you were trying to shift, and they were a bit lower than they were.
You know what, right? I've been trying to, when you deal, so the discount thing comes from, if you imagine that for us, this side of this business represents maybe, or did do anyway until recently, made maybe 5% of our turnover. So petrol equipment represented 5% of our total business. And we were dealing with all of the other companies. So, for example, we repair the wash bays at a third of England's ambulance stations.
Really?
And yeah, so those guys are not interested in a sale or a Black Friday sale. And our customers, and it stems from our customers being that, those customers sort of thing. And we're not really, until this last 18 months, we've never really been a retail outlet, like a shop.
Mm-hmm.
You've always been able to come and buy from us, but we've been more of a trade counter. And these are, you've got 10 machines and we're contracted to come and service them and all the rest of it, that type of thing. So we came to the show last year, the expo show, this year, April.
I don't think I went to this one.
No. Was it this year? No, last year.
I think it was last year, yeah.
This time last year. And what we did is we thought, right, let's take some stuff, let's put it on the cheap, and let's see what sort of interest it generates. So, like you say, we took a bunch of flat surface cleaners, we did a bunch of discount on guns. We had a bit of buying power, so I just rang my supplier and said, look, I want sort of 10 pellets of these. Give me a good price. And they went, I'm just like, look, I'm going to a show, give me a good price. Don't mess me around. And basically, what I negotiated off, I then put as a stonking deal. I think we were doing them for...
They were cheap.
They were cheap, weren't they?
Yeah.
Couple of hundred, I want to say a couple of £100 cheap.
I remember feeling a little bit bad when I first met you, the first time I ever met you. We haven't met much. Like, I spoke to you yesterday, and then I met you at the cleaning expo. I don't know if you remember, but I shoved a camera in your face. I thought, probably shouldn't have done that.
I remember. I was like, oh, God, who's this knob? Not another one of those YouTube idiots.
That's exactly who I am.
Exactly it. Right, let's do some questions. So, last week, viewers get a discount. You know what? I will, Joe. I will work with Mr. Smout here, and we will do some form of offer to support you for supporting us and this stream.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, Johnson's Cleaning. We're in Stafford.
I reckon a Smout discount code would look really good on your website.
Yeah, well, I'll even put it in orange for you.
Oh.
So, there we go. We'll stock everything. Thank you. Johnson's Cleaning Solutions is 54, so better be quick. It's nearly the end of the road for you, mate, at 54. Jesus. Wow.
Is he still cleaning at 54?
I don't know. Is he about to start or just start? You have to tell us, Mr. Johnson's Cleaning. Right. Pretty Girls Rule. What an ace YouTube name. I'm going to have a look, see if they've got any good videos on after this. Bit of blue for the dads.
Bit of blue? Is that
Bit of
blue?
Yes, it's Peter K. Bit of blue for dads. Hi, mate. Got a quick question. Thinking of starting a pressure washer myself. I'm currently a HGV driver doing 11, 12 hours a day. How many hours are you roughly doing a day? Well, that's a question for you, isn't it, Jake? 'Cause, I mean, for me, I do about 18 hours a day. So actually, I'd be going to part time doing HGV driving.
Honestly,
Um,
Darren is you're probably up early getting into the shop and getting onto the tools straight away, but you're also doing live streams at God knows what time of night, keeping everyone updated. It seems like you are always at work. Even didn't you have a holiday last week? But you weren't even on holiday. You were working.
I'm supposed to have had last week and this next coming week off, and I had 1 day.
You were working Sunday. You said you're probably working this morning.
I've been work this morning. This isn't eyeliner I put on. This is because I've been in the shop this morning, working this morning, and I've had a really interesting chat about something that they want me to build. What is that he's drinking out of? Right, okay, so this is my Jurassic Park mug. I couldn't find the unicorn one, so I've had to go for Jurassic Park.
If that question was aimed at me, I was talking to Sophie about it the other night, actually, and saying the reason I started this business was not to work all the hours under the sun. I understand when you first start a business, it involves graft, and you sort of get out what you put into it. But generally, I could be filling my days with 2 or 3 pressure washing jobs like a lot of people do every day, and that would probably wear me out. I'd probably have no time for video editing. I'd probably spend much less time with the family. But at the moment, I'm doing like one decently sized pressure washing job a day. And then the days where I don't have pressure washing work, I'm probably doing like 2 or 3 gutter jobs. And so generally, I'm finished by like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm back home, I'm having a shower, and then I'm getting on the laptop doing my admin, my quotes, my accounting, all that sort of stuff. So I'm working up until 5. And it's very difficult to switch off after 5 o'clock. And this is a question I was going to ask you, Darren. Like, do you find that because this is your business, do you find that it's so much different than working for someone else? You leave at 5 o'clock, working for someone else, you can switch off and stop worrying about it in most jobs. But I feel like now that I've started my own business, it's the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. And it's the first thing I think about when I get up out of bed. Do you feel the same?
I also dream about it.
You dream about it.
So it's a little bit different for me. I've been self-employed for nearly 20 years now. So I've also now got slightly older kids than what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
And I never always used to work hours like this. I went self-employed for exactly the same reasons you did, and the same reason as Pretty Girls Rule might not want to be HGV driver. I didn't want to work weekends. I wanted to have a bit more flexible hours. I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out of the rat race. So what I found is that was fine, and I made a really modest living. I had my set customers. I got married. We started to have a family, and it was very modest. So we're talking 10-year-old car, that type of thing that we owned. I decided my mum died in 2015, and it made me think about what I wanted from life, and I wanted more.
In terms of what? More what?
More everything.
Time,
right, so
enjoyment, money.
Everything. I wanted everything. I wanted more of everything. And the only way to do more is to nail it. So because I don't want to borrow a load of money and then set people on with money that we've borrowed and all the rest of it, what I'm having to do is work the difference to make sure there's enough work there before we put the next person in place. So I'm basically doing 2 jobs a week. And when I do that for long enough and consistent enough, I'll train somebody and we'll grow the people and we'll go forwards from there. So I'm just trying to be sensible, make sensible business choices. But doing more's brought all kinds of things. So it's meant that we could expand work. It gave us money to mess around building prototypes. We went from just working and just doing the repair work and just doing a bit. And we were ticking up. Make no mistake, we were doing okay. To let's do this or let's do that, or if I want to spend 10 grand dicking about making something for fun, I can do.
That's also what can lead into like technical innovation as well. When you've got the time and the money to spend on dicking around and just mucking about and building stuff, I feel like those are the posts of yours that I really look forward to. The ones where you've just made something and you've painted it green and it's awesome.
and I sometimes share a little bit too quickly as well. Like other people will be like, and here's our finally polished, fully finished machine. And I'm like, the paint isn't wet. And I'm like, look at this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so let's go down some more. So we've done, don't limit yourself. Yeah, you shouldn't limit yourself. Right, okay, so travelers. Let's set the record straight. Let's get it done. I do a lot of work for guys out of the traveller community. I don't like to call them gypsies because I think that is quite a racist term for them. I've got a lot of friends out of that community. I've got absolutely nothing at all against that. I was just referencing that they used to have a larger share of this market. Okay.
Yep.
Next one down. I watched online experiences. They don't all scale up. I think scale is interesting. Right. So, Luke, now this is interesting. I've held out for 5 months to save for a 21-litre machine. Yet Mr. PWS says 15150 seems to be sufficient. The industry is so conflicting. No, Facebook is so conflicting.
I was about to ask you about Facebook.
The industry has stayed the same for a very long time.
A lot of misinformation on Facebook, isn't there?
Loads of misinformation. Make absolutely no mistake. No mistake at all. That we'll get to that one. We'll get to that one in a minute. So basically, make no mistake that Facebook is full of a lot of misinformation. When you come to jet washers, buying the biggest, the most powerful you can afford at the time is always the right thing to do. Always, without question. And that is because you can always turn a more powerful one down. You can never turn a low-powered one up. So in your case, with your big 30-litre machine, you could run that on half throttle. You're giving it half as much wear as anything else, and it will just tick along and it will last forever. Do you know what I mean? Or you can turn it up when you need more power.
At the moment, I'm turning the unloader right down, and I'm turning the pressure. I'm just having the machine ticking over, and that is still so much more powerful than the 15 litre per minute machine that I had before.
Yeah, exactly.
I've only been using it a couple of hours this morning, and my elbow's killing.
You're gonna have to go to the gym or something, aren't you?
Well, I ain't got time for that now.
So a 15150, a 15200 is more than adequate to go and clean drives. However, if you was to do the same job with a 21 or a 30 or whatever, what you'll do is you won't do a better job. Okay, it won't be better because you've got more power. It will be faster. So the actual clean won't be any better. You'll just do it in a shorter amount of time.
Where are you getting that speed from? Is it from the pressure or from the flow?
Flow. It's always flow.
Always flow.
After 150 bar, it's always flow. Always. So that's sort of where that's at. I would go and see your local dealer. I don't know where you're from. Hunt out your local pressure washer supplier. Go in and have a go and work out what you want to do. If you're going to be doing it full time all day, every day, buy the biggest one you can afford. Our most popular machine now is the Briggs and Stratton electric start 21200. I can't remember the last time I built a Honda machine. And also
Really?
because the Briggs and Stratton is quite cost effective against the Honda, they're buying the electric start version 2.
Mm.
So the electric start Briggs and Stratton is I think it's within 50 quid of a pull start 390.
Would you suggest that instead of, if you haven't necessarily got the budget, I think my audience, the majority of the people watching my videos, are people like me who've either just started or they're thinking of starting. If you've got a small budget, or if you're just starting up, do you think hiring a machine is a good idea, or do you think purchasing, say I've got £1,000, would you suggest purchasing something secondhand or hiring something for a month or so? Because I feel like you can make a lot of money in this industry very quickly.
There's a load of questions all in one there.
There is.
So if you've got £1,000, I would probably buy a new machine. Right, and we've in fact £1,000's very topical because we've just introduced a budget machine that we're happy to sell that happens to be £1,000 including the VAT.
I didn't do that on purpose, but
what a lead in! What a lead in! No, but we should you buy a second-hand one? If your budget's £500 or £600, you can't buy a new one that's worth having for that. And definitely would be going, let's have a second-hand one. I wouldn't spend £1,000 on a second-hand one unless I was buying it from a trader. What I mean by that is a company like ourselves, because at £1,000, usually people are only selling it because they're knackered or they're in trouble in some way, and somebody who's having to sell up perhaps hasn't had the money to maintain it also. So I'd be very wary about spending that sort of money. I think that there's a stepping stone. If you're starting with nothing, I would start with a direct drive machine, something like that Hyundai. So what we're going to go with is a recognised pump. What I want to do is catch up with the questions, and then we'll talk about machines.
Okay.
So let's catch up with a flat surface cleaner would be a dream. Flat surface cleaners are good. Ricky Yates is about the speed. Joe, thanks, because he's a gypsy and he's been doing driveways for the past 15 years. Lee, well done, mate. Congratulations. 15 years is a long time. Love the look of the quick release guns. I've seen you running an ST2600. Squeaky clean Dave, nothing wrong with being 54. I saw you were also an old timer, Dave. I'm catching you up, mate. I'm catching you up. Let's have a look. I like the big output machine for speed. Yeah, again. Will Jones, I've got a Briggs and Stratton engine brought from you last year. The throttle is basically an on-off switch now. Just a little bit of grease, Will, or pop round with it, mate. So on the top of the machine, there's a little screw that sometimes binds it up, or you get a little bit of sand in it. Let's have a look.
You're quite happy working on or upgrading other people's machines, aren't you? You said that to me yesterday. That if
it makes no difference where you brought it from. If it's a jet wash, we'll fix it. Any brand, any pump, anything. Let's have a look. Machines that runs. I've got a Lancing gun from VTUF. I attached a 1,000mm lance and it feels heavy now. Not sure whether to buy a new full Lancing gun. Like the look of the right. So, Joe, you need, mate, the 2600 and a minimum of a 1200 lance. And I'm going to get to that with you as well, Mr. Smart, when we get there, because your lance is too short.
Am I going to get a telling off?
No, you're going to get educated. We work hard because we don't want our own business to fail. That's right. Jet and Seal, he was doing my van whilst on holiday. I bloody well was. You know what I mean? I can honestly say the prices are very good. Thank you very much. They will be going up soon. So you've got your machines in nice and early. Right, let's go down a little bit. Right, you're doing commercial, and the bigger the better. On residential, the big machines are daft, are just too much power. Ricky, you're right, mate. I'm telling you that the overlooked machine is that 15-litre bracket, there's been such a push for 21s, such a push. We do a Bambino range, and that's 14 litres a minute with a gearbox. It's got a quality engine, it's got a gearbox, quality pump on it, so it'll run for 10 years, like your bigger ones do. Because the problem often with the smaller machines is they make them out of cheaper parts and they fall apart quicker. And no, they're perfectly fine. We sell quite a few of those. Connor, anybody else really quiet at the moment? So I had this with a couple of my customers in August. We spoke about it yesterday. Domestic customers all go on holiday in August when it's a 6 weeks holiday. You're all going to be quiet because nobody's going to spend money while they're either saving for the holiday or about to go on holiday. They will book you the moment they come back off holiday, which is why the work's just started to pick up now.
Your advice to me yesterday was book your holiday this time of year if you're going to have a holiday. For me, as a business owner in the pressure washing industry, book your holiday in August. Is that right?
Yeah, go when all your customers are on holiday. Best thing to do. So for us, fixing the kit, we're usually very, very busy the end of July and very, very busy in the last week of August, start of September, because a lot of companies have an annual shutdown. Joe, rather not be bent over, we talked about that. Hi, Jake, everyone. Did you ever find out turning the revs down is the same as turning the loader valve? Is it two different things? Similar. It's not the same. It's similar. The difference is when you turn the unloader valve down, you can bypass the water, not just the pressure. When you turn the revs down, it brings it all down, but your unloader still tries to match the demand, if that makes sense. So if your unloader's set at 200 bar, for argument's sake, and you start to back the engine off, your unloader will continue to try and hit 200 bar, thus giving you maximum flow. If you turn the unloader valve down, that lowers the pressure and lowers the flow because it sends it back to your tank or back around the pump, however you've got it configured. So it's very similar. I think that if you're going to be doing it regular, what you need to do is a combination of the two. So you need to turn the revs down and the unloader down a little bit. So when you let go of the trigger, you don't stall the engine.
So I had a theory, and I think now you just explained that it's probably wrong, was that unloader is for pressure and revs is for flow, but you're saying that's wrong.
It's not wrong. It's just what your unloader does is imagine your unloader is your finger, right? And you put your finger over the end of a hose,
mm-hmm.
And as you close the gap, as you turn it down, you get more and more and more and more pressure, till eventually you've turned it off, right? And as you bring the pressure, so you set it, so your machine's designed to do 30 litres a minute at 200 bar. So you set the machine with the correct size nozzle into the hole in the end's the correct size. So you set that, and you run it on full chat, as you should do, 200 bar, 30 litres a minute. If you turn the unloader valve down, the unloader will reduce the pressure, but it will also bypass a load of the flow. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you leave the unloader set at 200 bar, 30 litres a minute, and back the engine off, the pumps have got like a crossover point. You'll notice this when you're running it, and I'm sure there's a chart for it, but you'll still get loads of flow out of your pump, even when it's not running at full chat. So when your unloader set at 200 bar and you're running your pump at, let's say, 3/4 power or half power, you're still going to be getting maximum flow.
Yeah.
Because your machine is your unloader's trying to make 200 bar. So if you turn it down, because you'll notice this, if you get the revs too low and let go of your trigger, your machine will stall if your unloader valve's turned up too high.
Yeah.
And because the pump goes to hit the unloader point.
I thought that was an issue with the carb, with the way the carb has been set up. But if that unloader's turned down, that shouldn't happen as often.
Correct, it won't happen at all.
So there's like a threshold.
There is a threshold, and it's different on every machine. And you'll get to learn your points with your machine and what works. Right, so where are we down to?
I told you guys, this man is an encyclopedia when it comes to this stuff.
My problem is trying to actually get it out in a way that other people can understand.
It's very difficult.
I'm currently training a guy at work at the moment, and I can be sat at my desk answering some emails. I can hear them running a machine, and I know what's wrong with it from sat at my desk, and it's irritating me that they've not fixed it already. So I have to get up and go, look, can you not hear that flutter? Can you not hear that it's leaking from the inlet? Come on, crack on. Right, let's have a look.
I guess that comes with years of experience, doesn't it?
Yeah, years and years. Can I say any more about the changes you've seen in the last few years, Andrew? So this is an interesting one. So I don't know why more legitimate people, let's say, that's unfair on the ones at home. More proper companies have decided to go external cleaning. I have seen less car valeters than ever, and I've seen more house valeters, if you will. So roof cleaning, drive cleaning, soffits, windows, furniture. So I think that people in England definitely have got, during COVID, very house proud.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that instead of spending £200 a quarter having their car polished and waxed and all the rest of it, they're now spending £800 a year, £1,000 a year having the house done.
Because I suppose you service car valeters as well, then, because they've got pressure washers in the back of their van as well.
Yeah, not just in the back of the van. So we go out to them at the sites that they're at. You know, they've also, I think that the changes come with them because of the sort of the Turkish car washes, the £2 scratch and shines. They've destroyed that. So I think that there's been a change this way. But I think people have changed, which has meant that there's more work. It's now trendy.
I also think with the cost of sorry to cut you off then. There's a little bit of a delay, so it's a bit difficult. With the cost of living and stuff everything's going up. I feel like to go out and spend an hour and a half cleaning a car, compared to spending 2 hours cleaning a driveway, the difference in the amount of income you can make from those two jobs is insane. It's like 5x sometimes.
100% agreed. Value a job as well. So your car might only be worth 10 grand versus 200 grand for your house. So it's all in the value of the job. People don't perceive washing a car as being good value versus the others.
That's what my business started out as. I told my brother I was going to go into car valeting, and he rolled his eyes and he says, "Don't lower yourself." I was like, "Wow, okay, thanks for the support."
Yeah. So the other changes that we've seen. Since the groups have been better educated, because more companies that know what they're doing have been involved, you've started to see sort of proper equipment being involved, like proper hot boxes and proper boilers, and you guys are being shown how to use the kit better, so that you understand how to get the best out of the kit, the best results. So there's been that change, right? Okay. Would you bother getting an X-Jet if your machine has a downstream injector for hypo? Okay, so two things. Your downstream injector will only travel 20-ish meters down your high pressure hose. Your downstream injector is basically an X-Jet. So your X-Jet is just a downstream injector at your lance, which negates you needing to have it X amount of distance down your length of hose.
Can you explain that? Can you explain the difference between a downstream injector and an X-Jet? I can't visualize what a downstream injector is.
Right. So, have you got an X-Jet?
Yes.
Right. So, in the middle of the X-Jet, there's a little bit that's about that long with a little pipe at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
That's basically a downstream injector. So if you take the gubbins off each end of an X-Jet, you could fit that to any pressure washer on its output. And if you've got the right, there is a chart for it. So it's to do with the Venturi effect of how it sucks. And they have to be the right size for the flow and everything. But roughly, the rule of thumb is it's 20 meters maximum distance with a downstream injector.
From your barrel of hypo.
From your barrel, not that pipe. Your high pressure hose, right? So the high pressure, the downstream injector goes at your machine, right? And the
Right.
reason why you guys don't use them is because you run 40, 50, 60, 100 meters of hose,
Right.
right? Your traditional car wash or haulier or any of those will have an injector at the machine, and they'll just have a 20-meter pull-out hose, and they'll switch it to low pressure, and they'll put it on.
A lot of the Americans use downstream, don't they?
Yeah, do you know what? Everybody uses downstream injectors. It's just not popular in this industry with you guys because of the length of hose that you run. So to bypass that, people use basically a downstream, or sometimes it gets given a name like an X-Jet with bits bolted on the end, or a cannon shooter with other bits put on the end of it. But in essence, it's just an injector at your gun, so you don't have to worry about the length of hose that you can inject with.
So with the downstream injector on near the pump, is that are the chemicals going through your high pressure hose? And if so,
your hose can stand it. I'm not. The internals of your hose will be fine with anything you want to run down it. Usually.
And is it going? Is it going through your pump, or is it just going through the hose?
No, just goes through the hose. Injector goes after the pump, after your boiler, on your output. So on your machine, if you've got a hose reel, you would fit it just before your hose reel.
Right.
Okay. So that you could use a downstream for hypo if your hose wasn't too long. I want one of the Green Army van mount systems.
Don't we all?
They're the stuff that dreams are made of, you know.
For those of you that don't know what Darren's talking about, let me see if I can pull it up on stream.
I'll let you pull it up. Halo, he's been fixing my machine. Yes, tell me about it. I'll see you tomorrow in the afternoon. I assume you're coming over. I will drop you a message in a bit. So I've stepped away from petrol machines due to noise and reliabilities. I have 2 Kranzel CA11s, and it feels great. Fits in a standard household plug and has a boiler to heat up water. So let me just remind myself what a CA11 is. But if it's what I think it is, you've been given some really bad advice.
Is that a Kranzel, did you say?
Yeah, CA/11. Yes, so you shouldn't be plugging those into a domestic supply. They need to have a C-rated trip. You know, we were talking last night about different trips in consumer supplies.
So this is an electric pressure washer.
Yeah, and it's an electric hot. So this is our core business all day, every day. Electric jet washers are our core business. Most important things with this size electric jet wash, they're like a really large air compressor. So if you go into somewhere like Machine Mart to buy a really large air compressor, it'll have a big warning over it. Do not use on 13 amp supply, or do not use on this trip, or do not use it on that. Don't use them on an extension lead, and you need to make sure that they're on a C or a D rated trip. Plug them into houses, you'll pop the trips. Okay.
So what's the solution there then? Either don't buy that machine or only use it in commercial environments.
They're designed to be used in commercial environments. So they're designed to be used in your industrial units. So, you know, like I've got a unit at work. They're designed to be plugged into one of them. You have a proper supply put on the wall. And that's what they're designed for. I don't want to say the name of the ones that's really popular in this industry, but the same applies to all of them. So once you get up into the high 2.8 kilowatt motors on them with a boiler, that sort of area, the simple rules are no extension lead, properly rated trip. They're just not designed for that industry. The fix is a petrol machine and a hot box. The hot box doesn't draw any real electricity. And that's not me slagging Kranzels off. We're actually an approved Kranzel main agent. I just need to refresh myself on that. But it's rule of thumb all the way through.
Cool.
So it takes it takes about £4 electric, 5 or 6 hours constant use. Yeah, not knocking petrol machines, but basically, the electric will work a treat. Like we said, once you get past that sort of 100, 130 bar area, you're doing enough 12 litres a minute. It's fine. It comes down to time. Right. Jack, I can vouch for the Briggs and Stratton. He mentioned with PWS a few months ago, and the after sales service is next to none. You know what, Jack? Sonia will really appreciate that, because I do know one evening late at night, she was helping you on Facebook because I was out in the van driving and couldn't. So I'll pass that on to her. She'll really appreciate it. Shane Kent, I got my pressure washer from PWS about 3 months ago. 21 litre Briggs. What a machine, makes light work of any driveways. They are awesome, absolutely awesome. Mike Brown agreed PWS is major pro. Oh, come on, guys, ask me some questions. I know we're amazing.
I've got some questions for you.
Hold on, we're nearly there.
It's just trying to get to the end.
Is it better to run a boiler off an alternator or solar panels? The outcome is exactly the same. Okay, so as long as you can provide the power, it makes no difference. What I will say is, given the movement for ecologically friendly ways of doing stuff, I know customers that have won work just because they've got solar panels mentioned in their quote. Okay, because it ticks an extra box. But no, it doesn't make any difference. Right, where are we now? I bought my machine second hand, but got lucky with who I brought it from. When I upgrade, I'll definitely look at PWS of a 30 litre machine. You know what? We don't advertise them on the website, but we sell tons of them.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
I'm sure I could only find up to, is it 25?
Only find, well, 21s.
21.
You just find the most popular stuff. I mean, if you follow the Facebook, you'll notice that a bunch of compacts have gone out with V-twins in.
Yeah.
And I don't even advertise it. All I would say and it's pretty much any company like us, just ring them. You won't find this sort of stuff isn't something that you should be able to click a few buttons and buy. You need to talk through what you want. You need to make sure you get all the right bits. You then also need to be shown how to use it. You need to understand how the equipment works, because it's dangerous.
I was going to say, ideally visit so you can actually have a handover.
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate for going to your local dealer and buying local, even if it costs you more than buying off a YouTube or Amazon or Facebook or whatever it is. I would definitely go local. You know what I mean?
And not only that, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it's just they're the guys that are going to be fixing it for you.
Yeah. It's the after sales support as well, and having someone just down the road who sold you the machine. They know their stuff, and they can even come out on site and repair it for you like you guys do.
Exactly that.
Invaluable.
Exactly that. Right. Brought machine second hand. Thanks, Darren. Once you get your household drive cleaned, you can't see it dirty again. Customers repeat. 100%. I had Chris from Revival come and do my roof here and clean mine. So I've just moved into a new house, and all my neighbours are all now trying to book people to get them to come and clean because they don't want to be kept out.
How come you're not cleaning it yourself?
I'd just make the kit, mate. I'm scared of heights also. But I'm not a roof cleaner. I'm not a drive specialist. I can't tell you. I fix carpet cleaners, but I can't tell you what product you need to use with your cleaner to get a red wine stain out.
Yeah. But
I can fix your machine.
Yeah.
So it's the same with roofs. I'm not about to climb up on my roof and start doing it. You need experience. I'm not bothered about training courses. You just need to have experience doing it. And until I went out with Dom from Diverse, and I visited Sid and a couple of my other customers on site, I'd never actually seen how you guys clean the roofs.
Yeah.
I was just supplying the kit that I've been asked to supply. So I was finding a solution for a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I need this. Can you get me that? Yes. How do we need to do? Do you know what I mean? All right. Let's go down.
I don't blame you. There's so much that can go wrong with with roof cleaning. I think that's why I'm tending to avoid it these days.
Yeah. Wish I had someone like Darren to ask me for help when you know what? There's a few of me about. There isn't many, by the way. There's probably only a handful of companies in the country that have got people that really know what they're talking about. Because anybody, and we were talking about this last night, anybody can bolt a cold water machine together. Anybody can bolt a petrol together. There's nothing special about bolting a petrol together. It's the little bits that make it right afterwards. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's the hot water stuff. So for example, people have paid me to travel around Europe to fix specialist machines in factories that have got like 20 or 30 pumps running factories that are all in series because they've got nobody that can do it. You know what I mean? I've done that kind of stuff. So there isn't many of us.
And on that point, it's like you can order a generic, cheap Chinese machine that sort of does the job, but going to a place like yourselves, I'm sure you could ask for something very specific that's custom to your line of work or to the way you want to work, and I'm sure you can probably come up with a solution.
It's how we've always done it. We've been making green machines since 2010. Right? We've been making the green stuff since 2010. It just wasn't petrol machines. These were green, statically mounted, got a boiler in it, electric motor and pump, and these were fitted outside of buildings to, for whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Business insurance is a must, 100%. Right? What you must do, guys, because we're now in a blame culture. Okay, there is no getting away from the fact that it's a blame culture. You must have business insurance. And on that note, you also need to make sure you've got a little pot of money saved, because you will go somewhere and a customer will go, you've broke this or you've done that. And instead of it being an insurance job, you just need to have that 300, 400, 500 quid to put it right. And if you want to stay in business, you end up having to do those things even if you think you shouldn't have to.
Yeah. Just for your reputation.
Just for your reputation. It's a shit thing to do. I've done it in the past where I've sold something and the customer has abused it, smashed it, been an absolute moron with it. It definitely isn't warranty. It definitely isn't my fault. But I put my hand in my pocket and made it right.
Yeah. And on that note, I think it's great advice to have at least 500 quid. If something goes wrong, chances are it's going to be your van, it's going to be a piece of equipment. And if you're right on that border of just being able to survive, you haven't got that little bit of buffer, you're always going to be worrying about the next thing going wrong, and you're going to end up bodging it, and you're going to end up fixing it incorrectly, going the cheaper route. Whereas if you just had that buffer of money, I think,
100%.
And I weren't 100%. A saver. I didn't save before I started this business. I was terrible with money. But now, since I started the business, I've cut everything back, and now I've got a buffer where if anything goes wrong, it's not going to affect me.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? These things don't change, right? So what? Sometimes on the groups or even some of the people in this chat, I'm just a small business owner like you guys are. Just because I happen to have a unit and happen to have a few staff, it doesn't make my problems any different. It's still exactly the same problems what you guys suffer with, except my fix it if it goes wrong pot, my emergency pot, isn't 500 quid anymore. It's a substantial amount of money that I have to have in case something goes wrong.
Yep.
And that's the best advice I can give anybody is when you do your work, this is the best nugget of advice. Keep 50% of the job for yourself. Okay, so every job you ever quote, keep 50% of the money for you as wage. 25% of the money you put to one side to pay your taxes and other accounts and all the rest of it. And the other 25% you put to the other side, and that's to pay for your machine and your repairs and your upgrades and everything else. So every time you earn 400 quid off a job, 200 quid of it's yours, 100 quid goes in that pot over there, a different account to pay your tax at the end of the year, and 100 quid goes in that pot over there to put right anything that goes wrong. never get stuck in that trap of I've been and done a 400 quid job. I put me 20 quid's worth of fuel in. I bought me sand for 20 quid. I've got 360 quid here and go and spunk it all up the wall.
It's all profit. It's not all profit. Yeah.
Split your money 3 ways. Half for you, and then the other 2 the other way.
And that was a that was a misconception that I had when I started. It's like, okay, I've bought my kit. I've got everything I need. That's all I need to buy now, and I'm good. I can start making money for the next 12 months or whatever. That's just not the case. Things fail, things break all the time. Things
all the time
degrade, and I suppose you wouldn't be in business if that didn't happen, but it's unavoidable. We're using high pressure equipment. The amount of pressure you're putting on these machines and all that water coming out the end of the lance and those turbo nozzles spinning at God knows how many RPMs, stuff breaks.
Yeah, so I because I wasn't working yesterday because it was Sunday. I had a good customer of mine, Tavi. He won't be on YouTube because he's a farmer and he can't work the internet. And I'm not stereotyping at all. And I got a message on my phone. Any chance you happen to be working today? And I'm like, I message back saying, what do you want? Why? And he's like, oh, I'm in the shit. My machine's gone wrong. Can I pop up? Yeah, pop up. Right. And I'm telling you, a grain of sand, a large grain of sand, had travelled through his machine and was stuck in the unloader shuttle. And it was stalling his engine when he let go of the trigger. Just a grain of sand. Right? So these are very sensitive. So people don't realise this, but it's not just they wear out. They're really, really, really sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're using yours with your... We'll get to yours in a minute because there's some stuff that you need to change on it. Right? But when we get to yours, when you move to having a tank, everything's connected. So you're no longer undoing fittings and undoing stuff. Because what actually ruins these machines is, one, lifting them on and off the van,
mm-hmm.
dropping them on the floor, when you lift them in and out of the van.
2 people in my Discord have tipped their machines on their side by mistake, and they've got oil where the spark plugs are, oil in the cylinders, and they've paid a fortune to try and get them fixed. One of them still isn't fixed, and the other one...
Oh, no, that's an easy fix.
Well, I think it was take the spark plug out, put a bit of tissue in, and keep pulling the...
Oh, don't put the tissue in. Just keep pulling it, and then just keep warming up the spark plug with you want a blowtorch, and you just want to get the spark plug red hot.
Right.
Pull it till the oil's out. Put it in. Bit of easy start. That'll soon go. Smoke it and ring off for a bit, but it'll work and it'll be fine. But yes, in and out the van, and then constantly connecting and disconnecting the fittings is where all the crap gets in. So the guys that are fully portable have, let's say, 10 times more problems than the guys that have got them fastened up in the vans. And that's just to do with in, out, up, down, connect, disconnect, set up, up, down.
Just a quick question on that note. Would you recommend a fixed turbo nozzle that's screwed into the end of your lance, or would you recommend the quick release plug-in?
There isn't an or, right? There isn't an or. If you're a professional cleaner, you'll have it fastened in directly so it doesn't wobble and fall out. There's a place for those quick release nozzles, but it's not for your main turbo lance. You're just asking for trouble. You're asking for more vibrations, more aggro, more pains up your arms, because your turbo moves like this. It flutters all the time. You know that? Right. Well, it's actually like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a circle. And all that's going to do on the little fitting that's in the end is just round and round and round and round and round, knacker the seals. It'll end up doing this on the end where you're trying to use it. Right.
You're doing lots of hand movements at the moment. I was more concerned with this one.
Well, I said it was like the innuendo bingo game start. Do you know what I mean? Right. So insurance, right. Can't wait to get my second-hand Briggs off the shelf. It's still waiting for you. It's there, Tom. Right. Squeaky Clean Dave. I watched a few videos on it. How easy is it to fit an electric start to a Honda 390? What you do, Dave, is you take your Honda 390, you take it off from your pump and you advertise it in Facebook Marketplace. and you go and buy an electric start engine, right? The problem is, so bolting the starter on the side isn't a big job. It's getting the rectifier and the charging circuit for the battery is the problem. And it's quite a big job, and it's quite an in-depth job. Given the cost of engines, and the popularity, in this instance, I would sell you 390 pull start, and I would swap it for a Briggs 21.2 electric Briggs Vanguard, the 14 horsepower Vanguard electric start. Really good engines. What's the process with servicing your products? For example, your 21 litre Briggs and Stratton.
Can I try and answer this one?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Can I try? So,
Go for it.
To my knowledge, it's drain the engine oil and replace it, drain the gearbox oil and the pump and replace those, spark plug, air filter. Is that it? Anything else, do you think?
There is a filter on the bottom of the fuel tank. Did you get that one in?
Inside the fuel tank or underneath?
Well, on some of them, it's just underneath. But you know where where your pipe goes onto the bottom of the fuel tank?
Yeah.
There's a little filter in there. On the Hondas.
I didn't know that.
Let me just answer this message. I'm my daughter. Do I want anything from Tesco?
I'm surprised you're not out drinking I imagine we'd be drinking beers together tonight, but are you drinking tea out of your dinosaur mug?
Coffee. Keep me awake.
I'm on the beer.
Yeah, lucky you. To be honest, when I had my kids, I stopped drinking. Or pretty much stopped drinking. I'm not teetotal or anything like that. But what happened basically was, with being a big guy, I was concerned that by having a drink, I would roll onto them in my sleep. You know, if they climbed into bed or the missus had got them in the bed or whatever, and I'd be in a deep sleep and wouldn't be aware of what I was doing.
Oh wow!
So I stopped drinking at home, and never really got back into it. You know what I mean?
Do you know there's a misconception about drinking and sleeping? People think if you have more to drink, you'll have a better night's sleep, but it's actually the opposite. You'll have a much poorer quality sleep if you have a drink.
And when you're old, you wake up for a wee. Yeah.
I wouldn't know that yet.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So you pretty much summed up the parts. I mean, we can do it at our place, 100-ish quid, 125 quid, something like that.
That's less than what I expected. Is that including parts and labour? 100 odd quid for service.
It depends on how in depth you want us to go, because some stuff. So that the Briggs and Stratton's got a 650 hour life on the air filter, because it's not like a little piece of foam. It's a proper air filter in it. So that some of the stuff doesn't need doing every time. So you don't have to change everything. Like, you don't necessarily change the filter on the bottom of the fuel tank every time. Right, let me have a look. Let's go down a little bit. Is it only an American thing where the surface cleaner is attached to the vehicle so you can drive it and clean big areas at once?
I've seen those.
It's not only an American thing when I can get one at my place to strap one to the bottom of. I just haven't had the right unit turn up yet.
It literally looks like a ride-on lawnmower with surface cleaners all around it.
We were thinking mobility scooter.
Yeah. What sort of machine would you need? What sort of machine would you need to power 3 20-odd inch surface cleaners strapped to one of those?
Now, I know the answers to these, and I do have something coming which I can't talk. I can't talk about this. Right? Right. So I have something happening in the new year, which you'll all find out about at the show, which I can't talk about, but it involves the Americans and this type of thing. But if you imagine that, rule of thumb, 1 litre per inch of surface cleaner.
That's a good way to
rule of thumb. However, your 30 litre would probably be pretty awesome on a 21, 24-inch surface cleaner.
I've got an
Is there
18-inch at the moment.
That'll fly. That'll just float off the
It
ground.
does.
Turned up.
I went from I put some 15-degree jets on it to try and clean some block paving, and it was hilarious. And then I put some 40-degree jets on it, and these are 3 jets, not just 2 underneath. There's 3, and it literally almost went over my head. Almost took off. It's insane. On that note, do you think there's actually, we've been talking about this in my Discord, is there actually a way that you can effectively clean block paving, including getting out all the weeds, just as well with a turbo nozzle, using the right setup on a surface cleaner? Is it possible?
See, I'm told it's possible the bigger and harder and faster you go. Right. But you've got to remember, I don't do the cleaning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm told it's possible when you get sort of your 30-litre area. Right. Me, I think if I'm pulling weeds out, I think I want to hit them with a turbo nozzle and clean up afterwards with the surface cleaner.
Yeah.
And then there is an element which we need to come to, which is doing a job too fast that customers don't feel like they have value for money.
Yeah.
Right. What have we got now? Surface cleaner attached to the vehicle. Look nowhere else. PWS, simply the best. Put that on the bottom of the van, shouldn't we? Simply the best.
Simply the best.
I nearly sung it. Darren, can I clear up a few conversations we've had in the Hyundai washers? We're having issues getting yours serviced, even getting parts for it, even getting it serviced is an issue. So, good news, right?
Sounds like Top Gear. Good news, the Dacia Sandero.
Yeah. So, the Hyundais, as it happens, our green stuff must be popular, because I had the guys from Hyundai UK find us and ring us and ask us if I was interested in looking at their range, because they also wanted to open us up as an approved service centre. Because what Hyundai UK is basically a distribution company that sell all manner of products made by Hyundai. And they know sweet FA about jet washers. They're just people in an office.
Mm-hmm.
And they have released, so we've had a few of theirs come. So we decided that there are 2 machines in their range that we're going to support. And we're prepared to stock out of their pre-built stuff, which I'll come to in a second. And their engines, I know of many of my customers that have run the Hyundai engines for years as a slightly cheaper alternative to Honda, but they consider them to be better quality than the Lonsins and the Lifans and that type of unit. And I think from what I've seen, they are a little bit better quality. They are better quality than the Lonsins and the Lifans. And we've run a few. Like I say, I've got a customer, Julian. He won't be on tonight. He runs one, a Hyundai 14 horse, 12 hours a night every single night, and he never has any problems with the engine.
Because you're doing 2 types of Hyundai now, aren't you? Are you doing the pre-built Hyundai, the one that you put on your Facebook the other night, and you're also testing out the engines for one of your custom? Is it the A2s? Yeah,
so the A2. So we're finding that we're constantly, we build whatever people want. We got asked if we'd supply one with a Hyundai engine. Hyundai happened to have called us. It was part of a chat. We made one with a Hyundai engine. They also sent me a 15 horsepower single cylinder to evaluate. So I'm going to strap a 26 litre pump to it and see if a single cylinder will actually drive a bigger pump. Right, so keep an eye out on the Facebook for that. It stopped the Briggs 14 horsepower dead. This pump did. So we'll see how it gets on with the 15 horsepower Hyundai.
You said you've noticed a slightly higher range of power from that Hyundai engine compared to like an equivalent.
Yes. So, was he talking about this on Facebook?
I can't remember.
Yeah. So, we fit the A&R RW 2021 21.20 pumps. Amazing pumps. There's no question. Are they as good a quality as a WS202 and Interpump 202? The same, if not better. Performance-wise, however, the RW2120 doesn't seem to be ceiling limited like the WS202. And what I mean by that is if you get a WS202 and you get an unloader on it, you really crank the unloader down with an 07 nozzle in, it won't make 200 bar. Okay, you need to have an 065 in for that to make 200 bar. You get one of these RW engines in, and one, it will stop the engine dead because it'll overproduce if you wind the unloader valve too far. And two, with an 07 in, it'll make 200 bar.
Where are you measuring that 200 bar? Are you measuring that at the pump or at the end of the lance?
At the pump. You always do your measurement at the pump.
Right.
End of the lance is too variable. That depends on length of the hose, length of the lance, all the rest of it. So you always measure at the pump, at least if you want a consistent figure.
Yeah.
So all I know is that pump will make more than this. Now, if I run that pump on a Honda engine, we have to downjet it to hit the 200 bar. We run it on a Briggs and Stratton, it'll run 205 bar when everything's loosened up. So those of you that have got the Alpha machines, we can turn them up and get a little bit more. We found that the Hyundai would bog down even less than the Briggs. So it had got even more guts than the Vanguard. Now, I'm not saying it's built better than a Vanguard. I don't want to get into that or even recommend it over. I just know that what we tried. Do you know what I mean?
So are you saying that machine could achieve 200 bar if you put on a smaller orifice nozzle onto the end of the lance?
Which one?
The one that couldn't achieve 200 bar with that specific pump on.
So you put a smaller nozzle in so it would meet the pressure but have less flow.
Right.
So it's working. So it isn't working as hard.
Okay.
Let's have a look down here.
See you, Dave. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, see you, Dave. See you, mate. So what we've done with the Hyundais is two of the Hyundai pre-built range, the 3,100 and the 4,100, I think they are, both got A&R pumps. A&R pumps we can repair and get the parts for separately. Going through Hyundai. Okay, so, and I happen to be inundated with Hyundai machines, which people have had for years that they're having problems with. And part of the problems that they're having with it is they've never had them serviced. The other part of the problem is they brought them on the internet and was never shown how to use them. They've been guessing all this time. Do you know what I mean?
So is that the barrier? Is it getting the parts? It's not the ability to fix these Hyundais or these Chinese machines. It's actually getting the parts in the first place.
Yeah, so the Chinese ones is getting the parts. The part supply just doesn't exist. So we picked that one so we can do the parts. So depending on which Hyundai washer you've got, us or any of the other good companies could repair it for you, depending on which pump's fitted to it.
So that comes back to buying local, doesn't it? If you buy from a reputable local company, you're not going to have these issues about getting them serviced and getting them fixed later on down the line when they inevitably need to be fixed. And buying something off the internet, like I did last year, buying a cheaper Chinese machine off the internet. Yes, I can get parts for it, but if there wasn't a UK supplier, once that machine's broke, that's it. You got to buy a new machine.
Yeah, you're done. And the engine will usually always outlast the pump as well. The pumps are just bin fodder on those. Right. Darren likes chopping down trees. I have chopped a few trees down at home, yes. Steve Camage had the first Alpha A4 in May. Steve, you did, and to this day, we've still not advertised the A4 frame on the website, yet it's getting to be one of our most popular builds.
I saw it on
So
your
guess
Facebook today. You put one on your Facebook, didn't you?
how sexy is that? I deliberately put on. Steve had one very similar to that one, and I remember actually when Steve came and met us. He wasn't sure, he was going to spend a lot of money, and he wasn't sure whether we were going to be a reputable company, or if our alphas were any good, or if they were worthwhile buying. Because when you're spending £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 on a machine upwards, it's like, what do we do? What's this now? There's loads of stuff. I'm a certified shagger.
Darren, are people moving this A4 frame that I'm looking at the moment? Are people moving those in and out of their vans?
Yes, so they can roll them up and down the ramps better.
Right.
So basically, when you've got the two wheels on the back with the sticker on the front, they can't get it. You have to tilt it back and push it up the ramps.
Yep.
The 4-wheel frame is easy to push up. I've got some pictures of it doing. When is the best time scale to get my Briggs and Stratton 21-litre machine serviced? Had it 6 months. What issues are to look out for to listen or like odd vibrations? Okay, so first of all, I strongly recommend that you get your machines to professional twice a year. Okay, so middle of the year, just when you go on holiday, you want it to have a looked at so it's ready for the end of the year. So what a lot of our customers do when they go for a week on holiday, they drop the kit off, or if they've got kit fastened to the vans, they'll drop the whole van off because they don't want to leave it on the drive at home because they're worried about security. They'll go on holiday, leave it with us so we can service it. You have it done then. And the other one is I would always recommend having it done at the start of the season. So regardless of what hours you do, and I'm not saying have all of the bits changed and all of the bits done, I'm saying get it to professional twice a year.
So maybe like January and then August?
Probably end of February, August time. And you'll be good at that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying we'd change every part, but get it in front of a professional. So today on Joseph's machine, although it was working fine, I say it was working fine, it was operating within parameters, we actually found that it had got a faulty flow switch that was working sometimes and not others. And we only found that because it was in front of me. It was something that wouldn't be noticed. So noises and rattles. So the only thing that we've had go wrong on the Briggs engines, and this is quite a simple one, is they get splattered with sand, the side of the engine, and part of the throttle closes the fuel off. So unlike the Hondas where you've got a separate lever for the fuel, the Briggs has got one lever that turns it off and shuts the fuel off.
Ah.
And it's a little plunger that goes down. And when that gets plastered with sand, it sometimes sticks and stays down and doesn't come up and the engine won't start.
Can I ask you a very stupid question? What? Those fuel switches, what's the purpose of turning the fuel off?
Oh, that isn't a stupid question. This is really important. So when you're bouncing around in a van, so on the side of on the side of the engine, you got your carburetor. And on your carburetor, there's a float. There's that little bowl.
Yeah.
On the side, there's a float in it, right? And if you don't shut the fuel off and the fuel tank's above it, what happens is every time you go over a bump, it moves the float up and down. It lets more fuel in, and it overfills and then it pushes down into the engine, which is why the fuel starts smelling of fuel and you start getting backfire. Well, your oil smells of fuel and it starts backfiring, and they don't last as long because it just keeps filling it full of fuel into the oil. So that's why the oils never go down on Hondas; they always go up because they're drinking the petrol.
I've had a new issue which I've never experienced before. On my new fuel tank, there's a little screw on the top of the lid that's like a breather, and I had that screwed down. I got it; it was all set up for me, and I screwed it in, thinking, "Oh, that's loose. I'll screw it in." I started my machine. It ran for like 2 minutes, and then it turned off. I was like, "They've sold me a dodgy machine here." I kept starting it up. It ran for 2 minutes and then turned off. I was like, "What is going on?" I called the guy that built it for me, and the first thing he said was, Check that little screw on top of your fuel cap is backed off a couple of times. And will that do the same job? Because it's creating a vacuum, isn't it?
No, your machine's different. I don't think yours has got the same setup.
Mine's not got a switch.
No, yours is pumped, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got an independent tank, different setup. Won't work the same. You should still turn it off, by the way. You will have a fuel isolator tap somewhere. You should still turn it off at the tap.
Right.
That's good. That's good practice. That is right. Evening, Darren. Need to give you a ring in the morning. I have a wee problem with the Bambino. So that be Steve, we Scottish Steve. Okay, give us a shout, mate. I'll be available after lunch. So let's go down a little bit. Oh, this is a good one. Currently awaiting a build date. Oh, wait there. Hi, Darren. Do you fancy spilling the beans on the new modifications 3.2 van mount version that you're working on? Ooh.
What are they talking about?
So, what we do is I version number everything that we build. Okay.
Is it the cold water van mount that I'm looking at on your website?
No, it'll be the. You get up the picture of the one on the van mount, and I will find a picture of a current one to share.
Is it the one with the boiler, or
it's the compact? Go to the one that's called the compact.
Compact hybrid?
Compact hybrid. Okay. So, let me share my screen. How are you doing for sharing screens on YouTube? Is it pretty good? Does it work?
What do you mean?
So when I share my screen, does it work?
Try it, and let's have a go.
Okay. So, this is a version 3.1.
Yep.
So this is freshly put in the side of a. So if Anthony is watching this is the same van as yours. This is on the side door of a Boxer. You can see we've not yet stickered it, so it's got none of the stickers on. We've installed it. We wipe down and put the stickers on after we've installed it. So what we've done with the version. So this is the 3.1. What you'll see on the 3.1. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my mouse does work, doesn't it? So the big difference is this bit here. So the hotbox stand here is, believe it or not, an all new design compared to the one that you can see on the website. It's also 25mm taller. Okay, so this then gives us clearance to move. So we now got clearance here. Can you see where my mouse is?
Yep.
So hold on.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, that's better.
Right, so we've now got clearance here for fitting this here, so we can do the water in a straight line. So on the other side of that, there's a straight line. Okay, so that's taller to fit that through. So that's one of the things we've done. Yeah, there's no fuel pipes on this yet. Look, this is part way through being installed.
I like that there's like version numbers, so you're constantly upgrading and improving.
Oh, yeah, all the time. So we've also then moved down here on the early ones. You'll see that the unloader valve was down here and it was really busy. And we used to have really small, short pipes that went underneath.
Mm-hmm.
We've now moved the unloader valve to the top up here. So it's easier for access, and all of the pipes run long, like 750mm, 1 meter pipes. They all run in a long straight line now.
Yeah.
So there's nothing with any nasty curves that can blow off. We've also moved the position of the vibro to here, so it's pre-drilled. So that's fastened to the back plate. So that's not fastened to the boiler, that's fastened to the back plate.
Can you
the vibro's there.
Can you explain the Vibro X to people?
Yes, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just going to nip to the toilet. Are you all right just chatting to everyone?
If everybody wants me to keep chatting, let me try
keep going.
Open up the window.
I'll be 2 minutes.
So then what we've got is over this side, we've got a new black electric box. This is the solar controller, and we've got the alpha sign down here. There is some changes up here, so we've moved the batteries from the right-hand side here to now in line behind the hose reel, so you could mount hose reels across the top. So the big change that's come in, well, it's not massive changes in how it operates, but this plate here and this bar here and this plate here is going, and it's going to be a stainless steel bolting item where the electric box is moved over slightly, and it's part of the bolting item for that. Let me see if I've got a picture. Excuse all of my pictures with sharing it. As you can see, these are my personal ones. Here you go. This is what it looks like in the back of a van. So you'll see that it sits over on the left where it's on the side door, tank in the middle, and you can fit your scaffolding or tower or ladders down the side. So Ant, when you're on, this is what it'll fit like in your van when it's sat and it's on. So we can go back to this here. So that's the core changes with the 3.2. Obviously, we do the same frame. You can have Honda engineer or Hyundai engine if you want. You can have a V twin, and we fit up to 23 horsepower on this frame without this size changing. Down here on the left hand side, we've changed the way the manifold works. I haven't got a picture of it, but the inlet manifold has changed across the bottom, and we've got these fittings down here. The bottom one's to drain the tank, top one's to fill it. It goes up in, it goes into a little side fill. And for those that are interested in the technicalities, this is your bypass. It just feeds into the top of the tank over the top, and obviously with a solar panel.
What sort of time goes into? I can't imagine how much time it takes to like take that from concept to a working prototype. But what sort of time does it take to build that up? Once you've got the frame, it's all green. How long did it take then to build it all up?
The green frame, we did the maths on this the other day. We think that start to finish is about 200 man hours. So from box steel, so complete box steel in bits through to finished product but not fitted is 200 a bit man hours.
And you reckon that's got to be all accounted for in the price, hasn't it? Because it's got to be worth it for you. You're not just charging for the cost of the equipment, you're charging for the cost of a professional to put that all together.
Yeah, but we haven't done what all the others have done. So the others on the market are, I don't know, 12, 13 grand. We've gone, this is how much it cost us to build. This is how much labour we need to make for putting it together. This is the little buffer that we need if something goes wrong for your warranty, because we have to stand the warranty on it. And we put it out at the price that we were happy to sell it at.
Yeah.
Are we making an absolute fortune on it? No. No, we're not. Could we put the price up and still sell them? I think we'd still sell them at 12 grand plus the VAT all day long without a question. Do we need to do that? No. We're currently, my target on those was to build one a month through the popular months, so 9 a year. And we've made 3 to 4 every month without fail since February.
The impression I get from you is that you're trying to sort of push the boundaries of sort of what's possible on like a compact frame. It seems like you're constantly improving and constantly trying to make things smaller and more accessible and more ergonomic. And
yeah, so
it's less about profit and selling these, big expensive machines. It's more about trying to give people the tightest, smallest footprint that they can just slide into the back of their van and still have room for everything else.
Yeah, we've never been about profit. We've always as a company been about the right equipment. I've always been about the right equipment, and I'll always add whether we make more money on a component or less money on a component does not factor into any advice that I'll give. I'm not a sales guy. I'm a guy that fixes stuff. None of the people at our place are sales guys. We all fix the kits. You'll always get the advice from a fixing it point of view. Do you know what I The concept of this, and I sent you a picture the other day of it. Hopefully, this isn't going to appear on my screen. Can you just see that picture? Okay.
Yeah.
When we were building, so let me open this. I set a goal. Well, we talked about this yesterday. It doesn't help that we didn't talk about it now. But we set a window, and let me start a new one. We set ourselves a goal of making the most. It wasn't the smallest machine. What we wanted to do was make a machine that fit on a pallet.
Yeah.
So it would fit in the back of a pickup. It would fit in a van comfortably, and we wanted to do that. And traditionally, all the machines on the market had always been the size of a pellet without a water tank. So I went away and I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get 500 litres of water. I drew very quickly part of that concept, that idea. I drew out the size of a pellet in a little 3D CAD project.
And you're doing all this yourself?
Yeah, I sat one evening and did it. And I got the dimensions for everything, and I mocked it up, what I wanted to do. And that's how we came up with the idea. We said we wanted to do it. We then had a good customer of ours, a guy called Anthony Fletcher. He came down and he said, I really want to put a boiler on my jet wash. How can I do it? And I previously had a lot of experience with 12-volt boilers, and they're an absolute nightmare with voltage change and that kind of stuff. And I went, I reckon we could do this. I think if we're careful and clever, we can use an inverter to power the boiler. So I said, a couple of battery packs, I reckon we can do it. So we built a prototype on Anthony's machine. So he had a machine made by, I want to say Dandas, somebody like that. It was up north. It was your traditional square framed. You could just see the edge of it. And it had got a top on it with a hose reel. So we chopped his frame about. We slapped one of our boilers on it. And we spec'd up an inverter. And off Anthony went running it and checking it would work. And he used it all day, every day. And what we found is that although the output was about right to run the inverter, in normal use, it would just gradually get flatter as you were using it. So it just wasn't enough. So our options then were scrap the idea, or make it a plug-in overnight, or stick some solar panels on it. And thus the hybrid version was born.
And is that what Sid Partridge has got, the solar panels with this setup?
Yeah. Well, that's what all of our customers. I've only done a couple that haven't had the solar that I plug in overnight. The solar is fit and forget. Some of my customers have had more batteries and oversized inverters put on it so they can run gutter vacuums, and they're more self-sufficient. You've put yourself a little power plant on your van, and you've opened up doors for extra work and extra stuff. But that's where it came from. The concept of the prototype, and you'll see on the right-hand side, that is Doug Flynn's machine, the first one we built. It's got a green front on it. And the one on the left actually might be Sid's machine.
And can you try and... I had a question about steam and about boilers and when it's appropriate to use steam. And
see, appropriate is a bit subjective, isn't it? Right, and that comes down to the people that are using it and the job that you're doing. But what I try and say is the same question I gave to you last night when you moaned that I was giving you homework to take home, which was
he gave me homework to go and wash some dishes. And I did. I actually washed a saucepan up, and I was like, he's right. He's absolutely right.
And basically the test is, if you're going to clean something with cold water, so I always say, do your dishes, So if you want to know, I don't know why it's better to clean with hot water. Okay, I don't know the science behind that.
That
What I do
surprises
know
me
is
because you seem
I
like an
don't need
expert in a lot of fields. You're
the
a
thing is,
website designer. You're a CAD modeler. You're a
but, it's. I don't need to know the science because it just works, doesn't it? Right. So if you try and clean your dishes with cold water, it takes ages and the results are crap. And if you try and clean with hot water, the results are faster and better. Right. I don't need to know the science. I've seen it, and I use that principle all the way through. There's certain things that hot water won't make a difference with. Okay, so hot water is not going to make a difference to your run of the mill shifting just grime. What hot water will do is, one of your driveways you've got tire marks.
Mhm.
Your hot water will pull out the rubber tire marks. Okay,
so
the hot water will clear bird shit better. The hot water inadvertently, without going back over, you'll kill everything. So you'll kill weeds, you'll kill the lichen, you'll kill the moss. When you hit it with very hot water, not only do you clean better, but you also kill the plants because steam cleaning is a way of ecologically killing weeds.
right.
So it's a load of different things.
And
Julian's on. Julian's on. You know what I was on about earlier about
yeah,
Julian and his bloody Hyundai engine.
yeah.
He's on. He's on. Right. Okay. So some questions. The V-Tough turbos have got a 21 litre gauge says 250 bar when running nozzle size 06. So
I'm just reading Luke's message. Absolute certified shagger. We've got this thing where people come into the live stream and they say, "What's up, shag? Hey, up, shag." I think it's a Scottish thing.
or Welsh thing, isn't it? Shagger,
Is it?
shagger.
Oh, well,
Welsh, isn't it? So I don't know what size your machine is, and I don't know what it's meant to be running at. But I would say that your 06 is probably a bit small for 21 litres. And if you're getting 250 bar, and let's say, for example, your machine's a 21 200, and you put a smaller nozzle in to get 250 bar, you won't be getting 21 litres out of it. Your machine will be running, because the hole size is smaller, you'll be letting less water out. So you'll be running at 18 litres a minute, something like that.
so how important is it to have a nozzle size that matches your machine? Because I didn't even consider this when I got my first machine.
It is the most important thing. Okay, so there's the most important thing is to have the correct nozzle and have your unloaded valve set correct so you don't damage your machine.
And there's a chart, isn't there, that you can refer to?
Yeah, there's a chart that you can refer to. There is exceptions to this. So I'm currently working with a bunch of the lads that do the roof cleaning where we're using smaller nozzles because they're turning their flow down, the machine down, but they still want to generate pressure with lower flow. So we're using smaller nozzles with it turned down. So in instance of that 06, let's say they want to clean a roof, you put a smaller nozzle in so less water will come out while still maintaining some pressure. So you'd perhaps turn your machine to 120 bar, 150 bar with a smaller nozzle and it'll let less water through. So that's the most important thing. Certified shagger. Got to go see Steve. Good to watch.
Can you damage your machine by putting too much of a restrictive nozzle?
Oh yeah, because you wreck everything. You're overloading the engine. You're overloading the pump. You're working the unloader too hard. You're basically giving it grief in every aspect. So you're putting way too much stress on everything. So if you put a too small a nozzle in, eventually you'll stall the engine.
But if you're inadvertently running your machine for a long time with the wrong nozzle, there's a chance you're going to do serious damage.
Depends how wrong. You know what I mean? A little bit wrong, your machine will just bypass it. Not a problem. But massively wrong, you'll have all kinds of problems.
Okay.
Right, here we go. Julian online. I'm really amazed Julian's online. He should be working. Tells me he works every night. I give him a shout out for his Hyundai look. He's putting their look are amazing. Cracking stream. James, not a problem. Glad you're enjoying it. The 4200p 15 litre broadcast on the internet is where I went wrong. Nowhere local to service it. Weir, where's the Weir?
I think he's Scottish. He's in my Discord.
Yeah, miles away. Miles away. I can recommend somebody on the England-Scottish border. We're just opening up an Alpha dealer up there, and we can do it. Looking forward to hopefully getting an upgrade. Your van mount with a boiler. Good choice. Good choice. How small a van is viable for your Alpha frame? Which frame? Okay, is the question. If you're still on,
I reckon.
Andrew,
I reckon the one. I reckon this, the Alpha PB, would have been perfect for my van.
100%. So in the Belingos, you can get a PB with a 250 tall. To answer this question while it's regular. So you're saying if you put a smaller nozzle on, turn the PSI down, right? Yeah, so what you want to do is if you put in a smaller nozzle in, you're going to be putting a smaller nozzle in because you want less flow. So the critical thing is about flow, right? So because you're closing a gap, so imagine you're still doing that with a hose pipe, you're closing the gap. What you want to do is make sure that it at least doesn't exceed the rating of the pump. Okay, so most people get the unload when they do this. All the way down. And run the machine as hard as it can run. They let go of the trigger and it goes and blows off. When you put a smaller nozzle in, when the unloader's set like that, the machine runs massively overrated. And that's when you get all of the problems. So yes, so if you're running a smaller nozzle in, make sure it doesn't exceed the rated one. But you'd use a smaller nozzle, like a smaller turbo, because you want it to spin when you turn the machine down. So when you're cleaning a roof, you only want it at you only want half of the performance because you don't put too much water up there. When you halve the performance out your turbo, it stops spinning. So you fit a smaller size so it'll spin.
Okay, so you want to turn it down so it's less aggressive, but you still want the turbo nozzle to perform as it should.
Correct.
Right.
So then the turbo nozzles need 50, 60 bar to start spinning. So, and often when you turn it down, you don't get that. So the PB, I'm looking for a picture.
I've got one on stream.
Have you actually got a picture? Have you got a picture of it in the van?
No. I've just got it off your website. I've got it on the pallet. I've got it in the van. Oh, that's next to the boiler though. There we go. That's in a van, in the side door of a van.
Stream. I'm waiting for your stream to catch up so I can see it now.
So there's no tank with this one. So the PB doesn't come with the tank.
Not yet. Wait till the new year. We're doing a PB with a 250 tall. So
this is the setup that I wanted. Is to have it side mounted in the side opening door, so that when you pull up in front of a customer's drive, the high pressure hose comes out the side. At the moment in my van, I pull up, I open the back doors, and I have to walk halfway down the road with my high pressure hose, and then walk back up onto the drive just to get it pulled out correctly.
You'll recognise this one. This is Sid's little van.
Oh.
This just happens to be the first picture I've come along. That's a 250 tall PB on the side door. This is in a Peugeot Expert.
Yeah.
So on the side door, 250 litre tank next to it. He's still got all of the van to put all of his stuff in. Let's hope I've got no inappropriate pictures on this. There's some videos. Here's my roof being done, look. But you get the idea of it being sat with loads of room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'll find some pictures of it. So we fitted that in a Berlingo. So the smallest van you could possibly fit it in that we've done so far is a Berlingo. Will it go in a smaller van? Yes, you'd get it in the back of something like a little Fiesta van or something like that, but you wouldn't be able to get the water tank in it. So I don't see why. I don't see why you want such a small van.
Well, I've got the Peugeot partner, which is pretty much the same as the Berlingo, isn't it? And I'm
Yes,
really working in like a super tight space, and so that van mounted setup coming out of the side door would leave me all of the room at the back with the opening doors to store all my sand and my gutter vacuum and all that other stuff, and that would have been ideal for me, really. I think I've made a bit of a sacrifice having my machine mounted at the very back of the van, because now everything's a little bit tighter.
yeah. There is a, if you can get it on the side door, it does leave your van empty.
Yeah.
That it is a desire. I would say that it's for the stuff that we do and my perception of the job that you guys do. The side door would be my choice of fitting. While I understand that it's not practical for everybody and not everybody wants it on the side door. So you have to remember, everybody wants something slightly different. Everybody's got their own version or their own way of doing it. But my perception definitely is to have it on the side door. If it was the compact, by the way, the smallest van we've currently fitted it in is one of the new shape Vivaros, because they've got a very small door orifice in the back.
Mm.
But it would fit in one of these Peugeot partners, not partners, one of these dispatch size vans, because they can fit a pellet in. So if you can fit a pellet in the side of your van, and it's over I think it's 1.1 tall, it'll fit. So I've yet to be asked to be put one of these in a Berlingo, but it will do it, and at roughly 750 kilograms full, your Berlingo, if it's they do a 900 kilogram Berlingo, don't they? That'll take 900 kilograms of weight in the back. You'll be okay on weight.
Darren, is this a good time for you to criticise my van?
Well, I'm nearly down all the questions.
Okay, you keep wanting to get to the end of the questions, but the questions keep coming. So.
I know. I'm trying to be efficient. This is a good one. RE van floors for van mount systems. What's my preference? Right. You're going to love this.
Are you bolting through the floor, or are you just bolting through the...
No, we go straight through.
All the way through the metal?
The PB can just sit on a piece of rubber, and it's not going to go anywhere, right? Because it's not top heavy. The big one, because of the tank, we need to fasten it down. Now, I'm not the right guy to speak about ply lining, right, and linings in vans, because this is my take on these vans. We've been moving jet washers in vans for over 20 years. I've done the fiberglass floors. I've done the painted floors. I've done everything. And you know what we end up doing to all of the floors that we put in all of the vans?
Ripping them out.
We drill 6 holes straight the way through. So any water that spills can just run straight out the bottom of the van.
Yeah.
I would be less worried about spillages in the van and containing it. You won't keep the van long enough for it to make a difference. These vans work hard. You'll have it 3 to 5 years. You won't wreck it. Drill 2 holes in the back corner, 2 holes by the bulkhead, 2 holes in the middle. Any water that spills in it, just let it run out the bottom. Just seal up the bulkhead across the bottom so it can't run into the cab, and just let it free run and don't stress it.
I did a video recently when I was upgrading my pressure washer, and I removed all the floor, vacuumed everything out, cleaned it all up, redid all the ply lining. It's a hell of a job. It's an absolute nightmare, and I feel like it's made no difference to protecting that floor.
No, but the ply lining is fine because you can bolt it. The ply lining is where you want to be, so you've got a flat, smooth floor. But I would just drill the holes through. Your biggest problem is sealing your bulkhead on that van, because those little vans are not like transits. They don't come down nice at the bottom, do they, to seal it across the front? You can fill the footwell up very easily with spillages, can you not?
Yes, you can. I've had that in the past, actually, where, yeah.
And we've got a little Berlingo. Okay, so as our emergency van, when our big ones, our nice vans are all being fixed, we've got a Berlingo we bomb round in. And that thing is forever leaking up the front.
Yeah.
So it's just about sealing the bulkhead. A link to my page, pwsce.co.uk. Okay, that's an easy one. Joe. So with a GX390 21 litre 200 bar, what would I recommend? Depends on the pump, mate. If we're talking nozzle sizes, it depends on the pump. If we're talking rotary cleaners, an 18-inch works perfect on a 21.2. The maximum you want is a 21. Searching for Belgium, I get many hits for PWS. Yeah, you will do. The actual company name is Precious Washers, PRECIAUS.
Put it in the chat.
You put it in the chat. Daz, I'll be phoning tomorrow. I need another jet for my surface cleaner. Mine is a 3-arm, not a 2 like I thought. Will that be a problem? Yes, bring the 2 back that you've got, or you need 3 of the right size.
Oh,
what's your preference? Go on.
Sorry, do you think it's a drawback having a 3-arm, a 3-bar surface cleaner rather than just having 2 bars?
On small machines, yes, definitely.
So big machine, it's okay to have 3 jets. Small machine, you'd recommend 2 jets.
Yeah, every time. Right, so Charlie. Right, so it's not about preference. It's about the right unloader for the right job. Okay, so you've got your trapped pressures, which have got the screw on that you can screw, and you've got your non-trapped pressures, which are the flow sensitive ones. So let's talk advantages and disadvantages of a K1. On an engine, definitely, what a K1 will do if you're gearbox driven is a K1 will give you that cushion so you don't wreck the drive pin on the engine when it goes into the gearbox. Okay, so if you are not the drive pin, the drive shaft and the keyway. So if you've got leaking guns, the machine will go rump, 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 and every time it does that with trap pressure, you basically the keyway will then start to wear because it's stop start high torque, stop start, stop start, stop start.
This is an issue. This is an issue I've had with the bottom of the lance leaking or my ball valve leaking on my old machine. You can hear it going, like every so often it will pulse so aggressively and violently, and it sounds like it's destroying the machine just from this tiny little leak.
If you'd have come and seen a professional when you brought your stuff, you'd know that never, ever, ever run your kit with leaks. Always fix your leak because it ruins your kit. So that leak, that rump, that leak, that is what's going to ruin everything. It'll finish your guns off. It'll finish your machines off. It'll wear your motor valve out. It'll do everything.
Does that explain why there's a little spring shuttle in the machine that I had before? There's a little shuttle valve inside the unloader, and the spring kept disintegrating. It happened 4 times in the space of like 6 months, and I had to keep replacing the spring, and the shards of this spring was shooting down the high pressure hose, blocking my nozzles, blocking my surface cleaner, and just ruining stuff. Does that pulsing, does that little leak explain why that was happening?
Yeah. And you will have wrecked a load of other stuff as well by doing it that way. Just prematurely wearing everything. So the trapped pressure unloader valves generally have less trouble and less problems. Okay, that's your advantage. They're fairly maintenance free. They're easy to adjust the pressure. They're fairly maintenance free. The flow sensitive K valves, they're more selective over what nozzles you should run. They're more sensitive. They're not as reliable, in my opinion, as the other types of valves. But the advantages of the soft start, the advantages of the protection against the machine with leaks and stuff like this and your shaft are worth it. So if you can you connect I'll get to that one in a second. So basically what I would say is if you're just cleaning driveways, you take your pick. It doesn't matter which one you have. It's completely preference. You know what I mean? If you're cleaning roofs, however, I would definitely move towards having a K series and using something like the Vibro. Okay. And what we do with that is it gives you this really nice slow start. So when you pull the trigger, instead of it being like that, you get as it comes in.
Is that what Sid's got?
Yes.
I've noticed.
That's why when
I've noticed when he pulls the trigger, it goes. And
yes,
I
yeah,
wonder
it's
what
called
was causing that.
yeah. It's a combination of the vibro with the K series. It gives this really gentle start. So when you've got a massive long roof pole, you use the two together and it picks up really gently off the roof instead of pull the trigger, it jumps up and you let go, and it smashes back down again. So that's what that's about. Can you power the boiler by connecting to a customer's power, or is it better to connect to a generator? So, a boiler versus, so we talked about this earlier, the hot water jet wash versus a boiler. A boiler only draws around 300 watts, not 3 kilowatts, 300 watts. So you can run that on a little inverter, a little generator, or the world's longest extension lead off your customer's supply. It's no different than running a bulb or you know what I mean, something small, powering a laptop. So you could use it off either. My preference would always be to never mess with the customer's supply ever. They're paying you as a professional to turn up with the kit to do the job. Because I'll guarantee you, every time you plug into a customer's or you use something of the customer's, it'll be sod's law that you'll break it, bust it. A week later, their plug socket will fall off the wall and it'll be your fault. You know what I'm getting
And
at.
the advantage of being able to turn up on site even when the customer's not home and start work.
Yeah, that's why we've oversold with larger inverters and more battery packs, so people can just not carry a generator, and in an emergency, if they can't plug the gutter vac in, use the one on the van to get them out of trouble. That's been like super popular. That has. I think we've done all the questions. So let's see it.
Oh no!
Is this like what do they call it? Rate my ride? Is it rate my picks?
Rate my rig.
Rate your rig.
But I want you to be gentle, and I know it's not. I know it's not green.
Do you want me to be honest?
Yes.
Or do you want me to be gentle?
I want you to be honest.
Just because the two may not necessarily be the same.
Now, just consider this machine was built. It's less about the machine and more about the van setup as a whole and what I could do to improve my workflow, all that sort of stuff. But this machine was built by a lovely chap over in Bromsgrove. He's the next town over. They run their own pressure washing business. I'm not looking to change anything necessarily. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what you think I could improve or change.
Oh yeah, hold on, we can't go to that. Joe, I said I'd talk about lances later, didn't I? I said I'd talk about lances later. Do your van. Let's see your van.
Okay.
Follow the link. Follow the link. Do the link. Are you going to play the video? Is it going to come out live?
You've got the video on your end. So
right,
what we'll do, I'll open the video and then
I'll tell you when to pause it. Let me open it.
I swear, you're running this stream, aren't you? You don't need me.
I'm pretty good at this kind of stuff. Wait there, I've got to request access. Why have I got to request access to your Google Drive?
I told you to download this earlier, Darren. Come on.
Oh, come on.
Do you mind if I just answer the phone? Do you mind?
Well, are we having two chats here or one?
It depends if I might be getting a McFlurry out of it. So
this is just too
Hello?
rude. This is we're in the middle of a chat and he's like this on the phone. I think you should give him some.
Oh, the standard, the plain McFlurry with a hot apple pie, please.
If he was any good as a host, he would have muted his mic to have his chat instead of us hearing his McDonald's order. Joe, let's talk about lances, right? So, dead simple. Being a tall guy, you want to have a 1200 lance. Okay, so a single straight,
yeah, no worries.
1200 lance. The 900s are too small, and this goes for actually any of you. Yeah. Unless you're under 5 foot, you'll find. I love you too. You'll find that a 900, and Jake will find this. You're not short, are you?
I'm 6'2".
Yeah. So what he's going to do is all he's going to be doing is jet washing his toes, because when he stands up straight with his 900 lance, he's 2 meters tall. Right, and he wants to try and hold it forwards, and when you're holding it forwards and close enough to the ground, it's not going to happen. So as he brings it close to the ground, he's either going to have to bend over quite a long way or point it downwards and clean his toes. So what you actually want to be buying, and it doesn't matter whether you buy it from me or any of the other suppliers, You want a 1200 lance with just a nice little bend in it. So when you've got your lance in your hand at that angle, you've got the little bend just. Oh, you got the little bend just on the. Not quite. Not quite. Just. You got your little. I can't.
Darren, I've got a problem with the bend.
I don't,
I've got an issue with the bend, and I went through it on one of my videos. Is that it makes the machine. Do you not feel that it makes the machine feel way more powerful than it is? And you're having to fight the lance to try and keep it down because the pressure is pushing it up and back instead of just straight. Now, I know you don't clean drives, you supply the equipment, but...
Oh, no. If you don't want arm make, you have a straight lance. And the less powerful the machine, you'll notice that manufacturers put a bigger bend in.
Yes.
And that's to make them feel more powerful.
Yeah, because it goes...
Exactly right. The bigger the bend, the more it's going to push you up. But there is an element of the turbo being effective. So when you've got a straight lance, you're cleaning basically at that sort of angle across. Whereas with a bend, a little bend, I'm not talking about a big bend here, a little bend on the end, it turns it just enough.
Because my issue with... The reason I want a short, straight lance is so that I can stand vertical over the cleaning area, especially when you've got beveled block paving. You're going to hit the other side of the bevel.
You're just going to get wet feet.
No, listen.
You're going to get wet feet.
This is this is real. This is real.
Have you got wellies on?
Yes, but if you've got listen, if you've got a bevel on the block paving, you're not touching that other the outer.
I understand what you're trying to say, but most people would walk one way and then clean the other end coming back.
Oh, you can't double up the work. You can't clean twice. But I think you're probably right in saying a longer lance with a slight bend on the end. You're still getting that other side of the. I don't know. Let's have a look at the video. So I'm going to pull the video up.
Hold on. Cost of a gun and lance. 1200 lance is going to cost you about 20 quid. It's not the end of the world.
They're way cheaper than I expected them to be, by the way.
Yeah, lances are not expensive. Depending on which gun, I think ST2600 is about 50 quid-ish at the moment, somewhere around that area. And thanks to me, by the way, they've come down in price.
Thanks to you.
They were... Yeah, well, I went and told the world that you should be using them. Why do you think everybody's now selling ST2600s all of a sudden? Because I gave the right advice and went, this is the gun you need for this job.
Or is
everybody
it
started buying them, so everybody had to start stocking them because everybody started asking for them.
Or is it because you put Sid's face on your website? That could have contributed.
I don't just mean off us. I mean everybody's having to stock them.
That might have been why. That might have been why I wanted one.
Sid's got a lot of followers. Hope he's on tonight. Hi, Sid. So yeah, 20-ish quid. Give us a call, or go and see your local supplier. Just ask for a 1200 lance, slight bend on the end, no big deal. And don't bother buying one in stainless steel. Save your money. Just buy the zinc. It's fine, because you'll break it, snap it, ruin it before you'll ever wear it out.
Awesome.
Right, Van. Have I got access yet?
Oh, have you asked me for access?
Yeah, twice.
See this, Darren. This is why we should have done it earlier. Come on.
I think you're letting the side down. To be perfectly honest, I've turned up really well prepared. I've got my little music all on my little stream deck. I managed to get home, have a shower, shave my head, put some clean clothes on. Do you know what I mean? And make myself a cup of coffee and be on time. And I've been work today while you've been sat around drinking beer after doing half a job this morning.
Are you Gmail?
Yes.
Yeah, I got you. Right, try now.
Try clicking the button.
Try that.
Oh, here we go. Right. Oh, look, little Peugeot van.
No. Needs a wash.
That's the first thing I'm noticing.
Don't go in with that attitude.
Look at the discoloration on that back door.
Wait.
You dirty git.
Come on. Bring the video back to the beginning and we'll play it at the same time.
Presentation.
Come on.
Right, we're going to start from here with it on pause, right?
3.
Presentation is the key.
3, 2, 1.
Go. Right.
I'd like you to narrate this for us, please. Tell me
And
what's
here's
wrong
a
with my
very
van.
dirty Peugeot partner. Needs a wash. Hose lock, hose reel on the side door. Broken bit of wood. Yeah, I see that.
What's broken?
What am I looking at? Top right hand side. Your side bit by the door bit high there.
Oh,
broken.
that's so I could get the hose to plug into the.
Just put an elbow on the side of your tank.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to shout to tell you when to pause.
Okay.
So there's a gutter vac. Good gutter vac. Like the attachments for them. You've got a good quality extension lead. That's what's that, leaf blower?
Yeah.
Looks good. Right. And we're going to pause. Right. So we're going to pause here at 47 seconds.
Okay.
So you've got your water feed in, and what's the second pipe for?
So that's the return.
Okay. So dead simple, and things that will really, really neaten this up and make it much better for you. Your return wants to be hose tailed in, and it wants to just be either hose tailed or just on an elbow.
Sorry, say that again. What's a hose tail?
So you say you've got a quick release fitting on your return.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be quick release. It'll over time that'll leak. It'll stick. It'll cause you trouble. At the most inappropriate moment, that'll start leaking and cause you trouble in your van.
Okay.
So I would put a simple elbow on that with a hose tail, fasten it in the bottom. Same with your inlet. You've got your inlet here. It's a bit close to your door because you're on a small van, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But instead of hacking out of the wood of your van, come on, you're asking me to be honest.
You know what? I knew I had to cut a corner out of that little bit of the van.
It looks like you ate it. That looks like you chewed that out. You haven't cut that out. You've got some pliers and snapped it.
That's exactly what I did, because I forgot that I had to do it, and then I arrived on site and I thought, God, I can't get the hose. I can't get the hose to go in, so I literally got a pair of pliers out of my toolbox, and I just grabbed the corner of the plywood and just broke it off.
But I will give you a bonus point for the water inlet filter.
That was overpriced. Didn't need to be as expensive as what I paid for it.
No, but bonus point. Good, well thought out.
Thank you.
So bonus point. So we've got -2 and now -1.
Are you actually keeping score?
No, I'm only joking. Right, let's press play.
3, 2, 1.
Right. Okay, so you're using a strap to hold it in. 1 second. Question. Let me just go backwards a little bit. What are you strapping around to hold that tank in?
You'll find out in just a second.
Okay, right. So I press play again. So you now open up the back door. Needs a clean. Okay, so I'm going to pause it when I get a nice out of view. And pause. So I've paused at 1 minute and 6.
Yep, same.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I see what you've done with the straps. Have you come all the way forward with the straps? Oh no, you've gone around the back of the tank. Okay.
Sorry, the dog's having a panic attack. Hang on.
Oh, you're all right, mate.
That's it. Good girl. She was struggling to get down off the bed.
My missus said she was going to drop on the feed and watch tonight if the dog was in.
She couldn't get off the bed. Bless her. Lie down.
So, okay, so you've got Honda GX. Is it a 630?
Yep.
630. Interpump. That looks like a VRT3 unloader valve.
Are you looking at this from 1 minute 6?
Yeah, 1 minute 6. Yeah.
And you can tell what that unloader valve is from here.
Yeah, I've just paused it. Yeah, I'm a professional.
God. Thank you.
Whoa!
Don't worry about it. Thank you so much.
I didn't know we were calling in for food. I would have got my missus on the go.
That was the very important phone call that I took 10 minutes ago.
Let me make. Well, if we're doing phone calls, I'm going to make a phone call and get me some stuff to the. Have I fed the dog? Yes.
She already offered Tesco's. Yes. You could have got all sorts from Tesco's if you'd have put some effort in. Oh, okay.
That was the daughter, and she missed the call.
I think she's ready to go outside. So she just sort of just about managed to get herself off the bed, and she's panting. So I think she's ready to go out.
You come downstairs.
Right, so we've got well made frame.
Yep.
Did you make the frame yourself?
The frame was blue. They had it in the corner of their shop, and it was from an old used machine. They disassembled everything, and I said they said, we've got all these parts. We're going to make it up as a spare rig for the gang. We've got 6 gangs. This is just going to be a spare in case anything goes wrong.
Did they make it themselves? It looks like it possibly is an old Nixon frame.
I don't know. Oh, beautiful. I don't know.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Come on in, Peter.
Do you
That's all
rate?
right.
Do you rate the frame? Does it look okay?
The frame looks okay. I think that's quite well made. It's rubber mounted. I'm not liking the lack of rubber mounts on the end of your pump. But we'll get to that in a little minute. I'm curious as to why we've gone with hard bolting and not just sitting out some rubber feet nicely. But no, it looks fine. It's a neat job. It's tidy. Nice fuel tank. Tidy hose reel up in the top corner. It's not an expensive hose reel, is it? But it does the job.
This one was from Equip to Clean a long time ago. It was a refurbished hose reel, and that's the one I've had since I van mounted.
Yeah, they're not. You know what? The cheaper stuff's fine. If you pick the right stuff, it can serve you well, and if you look after it, it'll serve you well. Okay, so let's go forward a little bit from there. So far, it looks neat. It looks tidy.
Shall I press play?
Yeah, let's press play. Let's see what else you're going to show us. Big battery. Let's pause it on the big battery. So, if you're only going to run that engine, so I've paused about 112. If you're only going to run that engine, you don't need such a big battery.
Yes, I think this was possibly just one they had in the shop. And one of the benefits of having this battery, as far as I'm aware, is if the battery dies on my van, which it often does if I leave it for 24 hours.
I heard you say this in one of your videos.
Theoretically,
just put a solar panel on your roof. Keep your van topped up.
Well, theoretically, I could jumpstart that from this battery. Is that right?
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, right. Let's press play. Let's go. So big battery. I mean, I like, Oh, is that a little level gauge in the top of the tank? That's a neat touch, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's a neat touch. So, right, I'm going to pause at 126.
Yep, got you.
So, on this, you're using MIDI couplers.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably swap out to the bigger Teamer size coupler. The midis and the minis really were invented for the cheaper end of the world. They're not quite as robust as the bigger stuff. The bigger stuff, yes, it gives more gap for flow and all the rest of it, but the bigger stuff generally tends to be better quality.
So I didn't know there was a bigger version of this quick release coupler until I rented a machine from Pressure Washer Sales and Service in Evesham. They sent me a machine to try out, and that had these massive fat quick release couplers.
So they're known in the industry as either Teamer type, because Teamer were the people that invented it, or you can buy genuine Teamer couplings. We stock either the genuine Teamers or the MTM type, and the MTMs are the ones that we fit. We consider them to be the holy grail of fitters. They just last better. There's experience, that is, as well. It's not industry. Industry says Teamers are the best that you can buy, and there's a load of Chinese copies in between, which gives the coupling a little bit of a bad name. But if you buy genuine on these couplings, they will serve you well.
What's the benefit of having a bigger one? Is it just more flow, more potential flow?
There is more potential flow, but that MIDI coupling will give you enough. It's just more about, I've not yet seen any of those MIDI couplings that are as well made as the bigger couplings.
Right.
So it's just simply about it being well made.
Longevity, like more than
longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Ball valve, I'm not a fan of ball valves on the end of hoses. I think it's heavy and makes it unnecessary. But I understand why. I understand why operators have them, and I understand why they fill a gap.
So the reason I've got this ball valve is, yes, I've now got the ST2600 with the Q fitting, which means you don't have to turn the machine off to change your lance, for example. But I still don't have a surface cleaner with the Q fitting, and so
which brings us nicely round to a sales pitch, right? Because we make one of them.
An adapter.
We make one that will convert your current surface cleaner to work off an ST2600.
Right.
It's like a 40 quid part.
Is that the green angle bracket thing?
Yeah. Comes with a spigot on the end and it's ready to go. So if you think, 40 quid sounds like a lot of money for that, let's just do breakdown for a second.
I didn't say anything.
No. I look at it, right? I look at that and I'm like, why is that much money?
Yeah.
That should be like a fiver, right? And actually, when you look at it, the Q spigot, tenner, you've got to make the thing, right? So you've got to pay a man to make it and pay for the materials.
And pay for someone to paint it green.
Powder coat it and pay for it to be powder coated and get it in. So I think we make about £3.50 on them by the time it arrives, but it is what it is. It fixes this. We do loads of them. It'll pretty much fit on any surface cleaner. You just drill 2 holes in your handle.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do the discount code on one of them. I
think we should just do a discount code on all of your products for Smelt View. Smelt 10 for 10% off everything.
I
don't think he likes the idea. Okay.
I don't think there's 10% profit in a lot of this stuff. So, do you want me to work all month to pay for you guys to go cleaning? Yeah.
Okay.
Right, let's press go.
Go.
So, I haven't seen anything bad yet. I think that the water inlet fittings are the worst thing I've seen so far. But there is something you do need to change that I saw in one of your other videos. Oh, here's a brush.
That's my B&Q broom, orange, of course.
It's orange. Here's your 2600.
Yeah. Massive upgrade from my old lance.
Oh, huge, yes. But you will benefit from a longer lance, I promise.
It's got the swivel attachment on the back of it as well. Yeah.
So I see. So you've got that with the quick release ends on. What size nozzle are you running now? I just couldn't quite
6508. 65 degree.
Okay.
08.
Big.
And the turbo, I think the turbo is a Rutland Pumps turbo, and that's an 08 as well.
Yeah, a PA turbo. So I would actually use a proper lance for that. I wouldn't have it on the end of one of those little woody couplings.
I thought
You're getting loads of wobbly vibrations. So I'm liking the fact that you've got that on rubber mounts. I think the position of the throttle's okay. So that's the bit. So if we pause it at 240, I don't know how far along you are.
Yeah, that's fine.
You say you've bolted it directly to the chassis. So we rub them. What we do is we fit rubber feet, so the pump just sits on the rubber feet, and basically that's because if the plate bends like this when the engine's running, which it can do.
Okay.
If you're on rubber feet, when it moves, it just squashes the rubber, and it lifts the rubber, and it doesn't give any stress to the gearbox in the middle.
Yeah.
When you hard mount it at the end, you're potentially, I'm not saying it will, but potentially opening up the door to having some kind of shaft or gearbox problem.
Okay.
Later on down the road, I would consider putting two rubber feet, not mounts where you bolt it through the floor, 2 rubber feet where it sits on top.
Okay. While we're paused here as well, where would you put? I'm really keen to get a pressure gauge. Where would you mount a pressure gauge on this pump or on the unloader? Would it be on one of those 3 bolts on the top there?
No, you won't get it on those. What you'll need to do to mount a pressure gauge on this, because of the orientation, so you either need to buy a different exhaust and rotate your engine and pump. So unbolt the 4 bolts on the plate and turn it all the way around so that the brass bit's pointing outwards.
Yep.
Basically, and have an exhaust that goes a different way. Or panel mount your pressure gauge. So a bit like you used to get the boost gauges on cars.
Yeah, it's like where the revs is. The revs is sort of bolted to the frame rather than the engine.
Yeah, and then use a pipe with a T-piece.
Yeah, okay. And where would that tee into? In line?
Let's go on just a little bit further. So you could tee it there before the unloader valve.
Okay.
You could sneak it in there. What have we got going across the bottom there? Is that going back into the bottom of the pump? What's the black elbow for?
Oh, that's
the feed in.
Yeah,
that's the bit
in.
that we need to change. Yeah, so that's the bit we need to change. Right. So because I do know if I press play that so you see if we pause it there, 246. I think that those brass nuts that you can see are 3 ports into the pump head. You can come off one of them with a pipe. I don't think they're the bottom valve caps. I think they're little brass ports. You have to forgive me. I'm not overly massively familiar on the large interpump pumps.
That's okay.
So I press play again. Right. So your inlet. So we're going to pause it. So what you've done with your inlet is you've put a pipe on, an inch pipe. Bonus marks for inch pipe.
This is none of me, by the way. This is a chap who's very passionate about all this stuff.
When I say you, I mean whoever's built it.
Yeah.
So whoever's built it. So what I would do in that instance is I definitely wouldn't have one of those rotating plastic inlet couplings on the inlet.
Okay.
Because over time, the little rubber seal that's there might corrode or play up, and that's going to give you problems with sucking in air.
This is what I was going to ask earlier when we were talking about a slight leak on your lance or on the ball valve or on the high pressure hose or whatever. How much difference is it? Just as critical not to have a leak on your inlet? So say for example you've got a smaller...
no, you can't have any leaks on your inlet.
So you've got
any leaks on your inlet, you're destroying it.
So you've got a smaller machine, you're going straight from the customer's water supply, and you've got a slight drip coming off of your pump where you're plugging your water supply in. How bad is that?
Oh, that's like bad. Because wherever there's a drip, there's an air leak. So it's sucking in air at the same time. So water might be coming out, but it's also sucking in air. That's why you get machines that chatter and vibrate, and cavitate and all the rest of it. And it's the air that goes in it that does that. So what I would do in this instance, 2 things that you need to do. One, that just needs to be obviously a nice elbow fitting to point it in the right direction, but that wants to be a proper hose tail. So just do away with that bit that rotates and put a hose tail in so you can fasten a Jubilee clip straight to the hose tail.
Okay.
So it'll never give you any chip. Then the next thing you want to do is not run a pipe upwards into the top of the tank and over.
This was a sacrifice, I think, because of the way the tank was mounted sideways. There is no room on the bottom, either side of the tank, to have a hose coming off it without drilling like a new hole. And
I know your original hole will work.
Yeah, you
can make it work.
This was more for speed, I think, and fitting a one because before the tank was right up against the bulkhead, but now the tank is further back between the wheel arches.
Let's press play and let's get to further. Yeah, so you brought it further back. I understand what you've done, but you can still run a pipe round. Oh, I see. It stops. I thought it might show us the bit on the top. Okay. So are you saying because it's touching your wheel arches, you've had to put a blanker in?
If you go to, let's scroll to 24 seconds. You there?
Yes, I'm there.
So you see that first hose closest to the camera? That is my old feed hose coming off the side of the tank. There's just about enough room for that hose, and the only reason I've still got that hose plugged in is just so that I can empty the tank if I need to.
Where's is the? Oh, I see. So behind the filter, you've got a tap.
Yes.
Yeah, just plumb it in there.
For the 1-inch hose now, I don't know if there's enough room, because this is
if you could fit a 5-litre container between the wheel arch and the tank, which I can see in that picture, there's enough room. Why don't you come up for an afternoon? And I've got all the fittings on the shelf. You just come pick the fittings, and it'll just go one piece of piss.
Yeah.
That isn't a big job. Once you've got all the fittings there, that's not, and it will make a difference. So what it'll mean is, your pump will prime faster. You'll never, ever, ever run the pump seals dry. So what you're in fear of doing, every time you suck out the top, you have to refill that with water.
Yeah.
Right? And you've only got to have the minutest little bit of air leak, or you haven't used the pump for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they've stuck themselves shut, and it decides it doesn't want to suck for the day, and that's it. You've got to start stripping it down. Whereas if you get it at the bottom, the weight of the water will negate that. It'll also show you where you've got any water leaks, because the weight of the water pushing will force water out. So, you have a problem, fix it. And also, when you come to use the machine, you're less likely to get the valves stick.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the issues with a lot of people running wheelie bin buffer tanks. If they're not coming out of the bottom of the buffer tank and they're putting their hoses up into the top and they're trying to start their machine and no water's coming out, the machine's running but there's no water coming out, it's because the water's got to travel all the way over that hose, get all the air out of that feed hose, and then start sucking water. And it takes quite a long time.
The longer it's running dry, the more it's cooking the seals.
Yeah.
The more it cooks the seals, the faster your service intervals, quicker your service intervals going to be. And the reason why we often get asked, why do you fit twin hoses, twin inlets? And that's because a 21-200 is marginal on a single 3/4. It'll run it, but it needs to be a perfect condition single 3/4 hose, or it isn't giving enough feed. So we fit 2 because we know you guys don't keep them in perfect condition, so they never starve of water.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's not because when they're brand new, they only need one single one, but the moment you put a kink in it or fold it or squeeze it so it comes over the top, they get squoze. As it goes to the top of the tank, we put 2 on. So
did you just make up a new word? Squoze.
Did I say squoze?
They get squoze.
Another word. Are you sure?
I don't know. This is a design feature that I didn't necessarily want. Is the let's go forward to 1 minute and 7 seconds. You can see that 1-inch hose is going over the top of the tank in through the lid, and
I saw that on your other video. That's the biggest thing you need to change on yours is that.
Not only is it quite a harsh bend in that hose that's narrow in the hose, but also it means I can't thread my surface cleaner would go quite nicely through over the top of that tank and hook over the back seat. But now I can't do that because that hose is in the way.
Can't do that yet.
Ever an optimist.
So, you could. It is a little bit of an oversized frame. You could trim some bits out and make a little bit of extra room, on the frame. And you'd probably, if the hose reel was the other side, you probably would have got that on your side door. But you'd have to compromise on your water tank size. You'd probably have to come down to a 100-litre tank to operate it. But for a little van, I think you've got loads of room for a little van in there.
Yeah, I think I've made pretty good use of the space.
Personally. I probably would have centrally mounted it in such a small van. I wouldn't have tried to, because you've left yourself room on one side for a battery, but you can't really put anything on top of the battery, so the rest of it's dead space.
I do stick my toolkit on top but I would like to make use of that space above the battery. You are right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make a little box or something. Well, what you need to do is get your pipe work in place first, because that'll run underneath the bottom of that battery. The other thing you're probably gonna have to do, if you travel with water in, you definitely need to consider fastening your tank down, because although your strap's rated for it, I'm only seeing teeny tiny bolts holding the jet wash down, which is fine to hold the jet wash down, but I don't think it's going to hold another 300 kilograms of water if it's full.
No, you're right, and that's why I don't travel with water in the tank. And also, if I do travel, even with half a tank of water, my wheel arches are like so close to the tires because I've got all this new weight at the back of the van where it used to be in the middle. Now it's all hanging over the back wheels.
I would consider a smaller water tank.
I feel like I can't afford any less water.
Bigger van.
Yeah, bigger van. Going back to the start of the video with that hose, the 3/4 inch.
I have a question. Hey there, I have a pressure washer, brand new, but have no power.
Oh, it could be a multitude of problems, couldn't it? You need to be more specific.
Give us a clue.
Yeah.
Is it electric? Is it connected to a tap? Is it connected to a Bowser? Give us a clue and we'll answer that one. Right, go back to where we're going to go back to.
27 seconds. So my 3/4 inch hose, I already know the answer to this because I've done a few tests with 12mm hose versus 19mm hose and the potential flow you can get. And in combination with a proper float valve, you're going to massively increase the potential flow from the customer's tap. This 3/4 inch hose that I've got at the moment, just wrapped around my generic B&Q hose lock reel. This is just a Toolstation, very, very cheap 3/4 inch hose. I understand that you do a better version of this, and it's orange.
You watch too many other YouTubers.
I saw it the other day. And I thought I needed that.
Joe, we do post, mate. Tomorrow, Ron's running the office, not me, because I'm working. Just give Ron a call. He'll post one out, mate. 01785 22 7722.
Halfway through a question.
You're at a McDonald's. When you ring Ron, make sure you ask him for like some sparks for your grinder as well, or some sky hooks. Or better still, ask him if he's got some tartan paint. That's been the long-running joke this last week. Right, so through your question. So there is various qualities of hose. Okay. When it comes to this yellow stuff, we would usually supply something called Tricaflex.
Yeah.
Which is like the gold standard for this type of hose. The orange one is no better than the yellow one. It just happened to be orange I'd got in. My preference is to use Spyro. Okay. So if you look on our machines that we make and the machines that we sell, you'll see it's a clear hose that's got metal wire inside it, so it doesn't crush. But the problem is because it doesn't crush, you can't get it on such a small reel.
I was thinking that. Can you get the Tricaflex on the reel that I've got?
Yeah, but you're gonna have less of it. But eventually, the Tricaflex will do what you've done around your water inlet fitting, where it'll crush. So what I would do is, your short hose that you've got there.
Yeah.
I'd probably make your short hose at least out of Spyro. See, because it's only a small amount. The big hose, yeah, it will make a difference, but we could only get 30 meters on 100-meter rolls, and it weighs a ton.
Yeah, I can imagine it probably weighs a lot more.
There is a real fine balance between having the best you can get and having the most flow, and then also having stuff that fits in a van that's easy to wrap up and work with.
Yep. This is my worry. This is what's preventing me from pulling the trigger on this hose, is because one, I don't have like a decent metal hose reel 2 is not mounted, so I'm going to have to carry it around and it's going to weigh a ton. And 3, I think the one I've got at the minute is fine. It kinks a lot. I've got a couple of pinholes in it, so there is water spraying out. And
so I would replace your inlet pipe with Spiro, because you'll need 1.5 meters of it. Okay, that's the first thing I'll do. Second thing, are any of those hose lock fittings that you've got on there the stop end hose lock fittings?
no, but explain that.
Good, because the hose lock ones have got loads of restrictive bits inside them. So even when they're pushed together, they're really, really, really restrictive. And even a domestic jet wash, so like your cartridges that you use at home, when you have them with a stop end on, it stops the flow that much it won't even run the little domestic cartridges. So never run those with the red stop end ones.
Yeah, so those stoppers, is it like you've got your garden hose and you've got a gun on the end, and you take the gun off and the water won't flow out of that hose lock adapter? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, those stop adapters.
Yeah, and they restrict flow.
They restrict flow. So definitely don't use those. Just looking at that hose, so what I would do is I would just replace the short hose. Cost you £6 or £7, nothing, no big deal. And then the end that you always bend over, that's at the front, I don't know if that's part of the other stop end or the bit that's got the permanent kink in, I would just cut that off and start again with a fresh bit of hose.
Yeah.
Just that little bit. And
one thing to note about my setup here is I've rammed 3/4 inch hose into the standard fittings. I've not got 19mm fittings there because I've just been lazy and I haven't.
They do bigger ones. Just buy the bigger ones so it fits properly.
Do you know a good supplier for those?
Look, I've got all this kind of stuff on the shelf. It's not necessarily on our website. It's just in. It's something you ring up and just go, I need some of these. Can you post me some? Yes.
So not everything's on the website?
No.
Okay.
We can't even put all them. The problem is, I was trying to explain about like the ambulance and the other stuff that we do, the bigger customers. When it's not, this type of business isn't a stop and shop, click and collect type thing. It's a way more in depth than that.
But those,
even if I did have them on the website, you still wouldn't know what they were called to look and find them, so they wouldn't appear in a search engine.
No, but those 3/4 inch hose lock fittings, I've had so many people come from my buffer tank videos saying, I can't find them anywhere. I can't even find them on Amazon. I was lucky to find some in Lidl. They had them in the specials aisle.
What's that? The metal?
Just the on the video, those yellow hose lock adapters.
Yeah, no, just as many of those as you want.
No, just 3/4 inch versions rather than the 12mm versions.
Yeah, got those in.
So I really feel like if you put them on your website, they'd absolutely fly out. I know they're only a couple of pence, but a couple of quid. But
might be a fiver. Might be a fiver.
They're really difficult to get hold of.
Okay. Question from Mick. Darren, your metal jerry cans have the static adapter. B twin fitted and has 2 connected to pressure washer. As Jake pointed out earlier, his plastic fuel tank has a screw vent. How do your fuel cans vent? So this is for the boiler. So the metal jerry cans have got diesel in for the boiler, not petrol for the main thing, and they don't have to. What's the word I'm looking for now, Jake?
There's no vacuum cores.
There's no vacuum cores with the way that the fuel pump works, so it doesn't have to. They don't have to necessarily vent like that. And also, although it's quite tightly sealed, it's not the world's. You know what jerry cans are like. It's a true story, though, isn't it?
I bought an adapter. I bought an adapter for my old. It's got to be like a 20-year-old 20-litre jerry can, big metal, heavy, horrible thing. And I bought a brand new adapter for it, clipped it on, started pouring it, and it just pissed out of the bottom of the adapter, all over my machine, all over my shorts.
Good job you got a short lance, because that's the first place you'll watch.
I need to do some tests with these lamps just to prove you wrong.
To try and debunk the myth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the adapters. Okay, I might do a section about some adapters.
Yeah.
But any of us, by the way, it's not just me. We're special. Any companies that supply this kit will have these adapters on the shelf. You know what I mean?
Darren, we've done 3 hours. I think
it's about done, isn't it?
I think
I haven't even done any sales pitch and nothing.
you can do a sales pitch. I feel like we should. I feel like we should wrap it up because I really need a wee again. But also, I think if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to have you on again, and we'll go through the questions that I actually wanted to ask you.
I'll tell you what. Let's do it next month.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Let's just leave it a month. Get the questions together.
Yep.
Put the day out in advance, and let's just do it in a month's time. No stress.
That's a good idea.
You know, I'm easy. Like I said, I don't need to do a sales pitch with you guys tonight. I've enjoyed hopping on and answering the questions. It's nice getting some of the questions asked that I wouldn't normally think about. We've rated your machine. Actually, it's not a bad setup. You know.
What is it out of 10? Did you toss up the score?
Unfortunately, because of the way you've got the inlet pipe, that's a massive. It must try harder. But the rest of it, apart from where you've nibbled the door, actually, it's the bit where you've chewed the door. The actual build itself, the frame, the build, overkill with the battery, which is always good. It's always better to be over than under. I like the fuel tank setup. I like where you position the hose. You know what? It's good choice of parts. That's going to serve you really, really, really well. There is loads of stuff we could do to it. So we could fit like a needle valve to it. So you've got more finite control over the pressure. We could fit like a pressure gauge so you can find out exactly what you're doing and experiment that way. You definitely need to put rubbers on the end of the pump, in my opinion.
Okay.
But you might meet another guy like me that goes, no. They never break there. I've had one do it. We attributed to fast it down many years ago, so I've never done it since. But no, your van's a good setup, mate.
Thank you.
Especially if you've done it on a budget as well.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with what I paid for it, and I'm very pleased. The guy that built it for me is just like very passionate about the whole thing, and like I appreciate his craftsmanship. I appreciate the time he put into it, and I don't really think they charge me for the time. I think they only really charge me for the cost of the equipment. So I'm happy. It's way overkill for what I'm actually doing with it day to day.
100%. What's the oil leak, by the way?
Yeah, don't know. That was in the video I put out today. I noticed it, and I don't know.
Well, right next to where it's coming from is the oil drain, so it's possible that it's just coming out the oil drain.
I think it's further up. You know where you actually put the oil into the engine? There's like a big plastic plate.
Oh, I see where it's run down. Oh, we must go. But yeah, I see where it's run down.
Yeah, I think.
Just keep an eye on it. I would. I don't overly stress about little dribbles. I've run classic cars before.
We'll have to talk about that next month because I'm a bit of a classic car enthusiast as well. So
I'm trying to get some guys together to nip over to the ring for a weekend, but nobody's game.
I mean, I've not got a car to do it in now, but
I went with the classic minis like 7 years on the bounce where we rented the ring and went round with the classic minis. I organised the event called the Silver Ring Rally. Google it. Not now, but if you're into classic cars, it was a huge thing. We met up with a load of Germans. It was amazing. It was ace. And with this little Miata I've got at the moment, I just fancy nipping across for a weekend.
Sounds amazing. You know what I mean? Do you remember the Reliant Scimitar?
Yes.
I've had seven of those. And
that explains a lot. You are a weirdo, aren't you?
Yeah. And the last one I sold it so that I'd have a few more piggies in the bank for the business.
Did you ever have one of the modern scimitars with the pop-up lights at the front?
Yeah, the SST. Yeah, I had one of those as well.
With the Bluebird turbo engine in it?
Yeah, the 1.8 Nissan Turbo. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was...
Proper rare they are.
Yeah, when I was a mechanic, I used to service a yellow one.
I'll send you a picture later, because I literally looked through my Facebook earlier on to see if I could find a picture. I'll send you one later on.
There's not many people you could have on the chat that would go, did you have the one with the pop-up lights?
I know.
And the Bluebird turbo engine and know about it.
The number plate was H7 SST, because it's a Reliant Scimitar SST, and it was
That is posh, isn't it?
Absolute bargain.
Right, there's some watching back to do. Chris, interest in the Alpha A2 Ultimate Pack. Does the hose come on a mounted reel?
Because on the website, you've got the mounted system, but there's no hose on that reel, on that green.
Well, the A2, so the A2 is the push along. A2 stands for the Alpha 2 frame, right? So that's the 2-wheel frame. So we don't build it as standard with a hose reel that goes over the top. Okay. You can spec it to have a hose reel over the top. You can't spec it on the web. You need to give us a bell. So like Steve Gamage and some of the others will know. Ring up, pick the spec that you want, and your hose will be. So if you ordered an A2 Ultimate, it'll probably cost you 150, 250, and another 400 quid ish to have the stainless steel hose reel over the top. But that would come with the 30 meters of hose that comes with the Ultimate Pack mounted on the reel. Be good to get advance warning of the next one. Yes, Steve, that's what we're going to do, mates. Thanks, everybody.
Beautiful.
And I'll speak soon.
Darren.
Remind me to post one of those van things, little adapter things to when you whirl away. You can the bendy.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Bendy thing. Yeah, the bendy thing.
Darren, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure, honestly. And I've not had to do anything. I've literally just sat here. I've interjected a few times, but you've literally ran this thing yourself. So I think we should definitely do this
Next time,
again.
I should invite you on my stream.
Yeah, exactly.
And we should do this the other way round. I should do a live on mine, and we should invite everybody on my stream.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
Catch you later, everybody.
I'll leave you to it,
Take
mate.
care.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Guys, that was amazing. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you all. There's been, I think, quite a few new people here that aren't generally followers of the channel. I think Darren's brought quite a few of his people from his community over and interrupted. I did just interrupt. He was off on his tangents. He was answering the questions in the chat. I was literally just watching. I was just sat back watching. That was great. That was the easiest. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful night. And we'll do this again soon. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one. See you, Charlie. See you, Mike, Joe, Steve, sorry. Steve, Chris, Jet and Seal. Thank you, guys. See you in a bit.